Not long after I returned to my biological parents' home, the family villa caught fire. The nanny told me to call my father to get help with the fire, but I ignored her and dialed 119 myself. In my past life, my father not only sent people but also came back personally to fight the fire, but he failed to attend the fake heiress's birthday celebration, and in a fit of rage, she jumped from the cloud-top restaurant. With calm expressions, Mom and Dad held a funeral for the fake heiress. Yet that very night, they set the memorial hall ablaze. "It's just a fire. Why are you calling, you murderer? I'll make you pay with your life for Dahlia." When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day the house caught fire. Without me around to bother them, my parents finally got to celebrate their birthday with their adopted daughter like they always wanted, but after the birthday party, they lost their minds. The raging fire before my eyes was about to engulf the entire villa. I fled outside with the servants. The nanny looked at me anxiously. "Miss, hurry, call the master and get someone to put out the fire." But the housekeeper, Mabel, pulled me back inside. "The master is celebrating the young Mrs.'s birthday today. He must not be disturbed. The young lady and I will handle the fire." Coughing violently, the nanny shook her head. "What can you two do against a fire? We still need to call for help. The searing heat all around me jolts me awake. I've been reborn. Just like in my past life." Not long after I was brought back from the orphanage, our family villa caught fire, and it just so happened to be Dahlia's birthday, the daughter my parents had mistaken for their own. The nanny and Mabel were having the exact same argument right in front of me. Last time, I chose to listen to the nanny and called my father, but this time, I decided to call 119 myself and take control of my own fate. I covered my mouth and nose, trying to run out to make the call. But Mabel rushed forward and stopped me. "Miss, where are you going?" Ignoring her, I pulled out my phone from my pocket, dialed 119, and the call connected. "Hello, this is 119 Emergency Center." The next second, Mabel swatted my phone away and hit the end call button. "Why call 119? The master is a public figure. If this makes the news, how would he save face? What if the master comes back to deal with the fire and ruins the second young Mrs.'s birthday? Come on. Let's grab buckets and put out the fire." Mabel yanked my arm hard, trying to drag me back toward the burning building. I struggled with all my might, but Mabel was tall and strong, and her grip was like iron as she pulled me toward the villa. The crackling sounds around us grew louder, and the smoke ahead thickened. I was forced into a violent coughing fit, tears streaming down my face. Mabel threw a bucket at me, fixing me with a sinister glare. "Miss, today is the second young Mrs.'s 18th birthday. Nothing is more important than her. Don't think you can compete for favor with the second young miss over such a trivial matter. She has been raised by the master and mistress for 18 whole years. You're no match for her." Even though I haven't been back for long, I've already noticed that Mabel shows clear favoritism toward Dahlia, treating me, the actual young mistress, like an intruder. She seems afraid that I might steal our parents' attention and make Dahlia unhappy, but I never expected that. Even now, she still thinks I'm competing with Dahlia for favor. The bucket in my hand had grown warm from the fire, almost too hot to hold. "I can't stay in this fire any longer. This is a fire I can't put out. If I don't get out now, it'll be the death of me." Sensing my intention to leave, Mabel grabbed me again and yanked me back inside. It suddenly dawned on me that she might have had something to do with the fire. If I die in this fire, I'll not only take the fall for her, but also clear an obstacle for Dahlia. Even after being reborn, am I still doomed to die in a blazing fire? In my previous life, I managed to escape this fire, but still ended up perishing in the flames. I followed the nanny's advice and called my dad, who immediately rushed back with help to put out the fire. The fire was finally extinguished, but Dahlia, who was about to celebrate her birthday at the Cloud Top restaurant, jumped from the 82nd floor after her parents failed to show up. She was shattered to pieces, overwhelmed with guilt. Her father held a grand funeral for Dahlia. At the funeral, her parents appeared unusually calm. While burning clothes for Dahlia, father set the funeral hall ablaze. The guests tried to leave, only to find mother had locked the main door of the hall. Amid the raging flames, father laughed maniacally. "All of you will join my Dahlia in death." He gripped me tightly, dragging me, and forced my face toward the fire. "It's just a fire. Was it really necessary to call? You knew it was Dahlia's birthday that day. You knew perfectly well I was giving a speech at that time. Your call would have been broadcast live, leaving me no choice but to come back. If you hadn't called me, how could my beloved daughter have died at just 18? You deserve to die." My face sizzled as the flames licked at it, the searing pain racking my entire body with tremors. I forced the words out with difficulty. "No, I didn't realize you were speaking. I just panicked when I saw the fire. I had no idea Dahlia's birthday was such a big deal. I grew up in an orphanage and never celebrated birthdays, so how could I have known she took them so seriously? I never imagined she would jump just because our parents were late. And I certainly didn't expect Dad would want to take all of us down with him." Dad shoved me into the raging fire. My hair, clothes, everything caught flames, and my skin burned with searing pain. "You vile creature, how dare you still try to talk your way out of this? Dahlia is dead, and you're going to join her in the grave." He kept dousing me with gasoline as he spoke, the flames growing fiercer around me until I could no longer utter a single word. So all those apologies they gave when they brought me back, every last one was a lie. The claim that both Dahlia and I are their daughters is also a lie. I overthought it, believing blood ties automatically meant family bonds. I forced myself to stay calm as the fire grew fiercer. The heat was unbearable, and Mabel was suffering too. Seizing the moment she was distracted, I broke free and bolted outside. Human potential is limitless when pushed to the brink. I actually made it to the villa's entrance. The moment I breathed in the fresh air, tears streamed down my face again. This time, no matter what, I will survive. I picked up the phone I'd dropped by the entrance and got ready to make a call, but the next second, someone grabbed my ankle and I fell to the ground. Mabel dragged me inside, and the other servant standing outside turned to look. "Miss, why are you still in the house? Did you call 119? "Mabel, what are you doing? The staff aren't allowed to bring phones to work. Right now, I'm the only one here who can make a call." I threw the phone with all my strength, and it landed on the grass. "Mabel is trying to kill me. Call 119 for help. Hurry, Mabel has explosives on her. If we're too late, it'll be all over." Of course I made up the bomb threat just to scare everyone. Sure enough, the servants panicked. Some grabbed my phone, others tried to bolt for the exit. "A bomb. I'm calling the police. Run for it." "Mabel, have you lost your mind? How have the master and mistress ever treated you poorly, that you'd strap explosives to yourself?" Seeing this, Mabel released her grip on my ankle. "When did I ever strap explosives to myself? Don't listen to the young mistress's nonsense. The young mistress is just jealous of the second young mistress. She's trying to blow things out of proportion so the master cancels the second young mistress's birthday and comes back to keep her company. Nobody leaves, and don't you dare call the police. It's just a small fire. What's there to report? If I really had explosives, do you think I'd be standing right here?" Hearing this, the servants lowered the hand holding my phone. So it's a rivalry for attention. Maybe the young mistress started the fire herself. How could the eldest daughter possibly compete for favor? After all, the second daughter has lived in this household for 18 years. If I were the master, I'd prefer the second daughter too. She's elegant and refined, more like a true noble heiress than the eldest. I watched them, feeling a wave of despair wash over me. The villas were nestled halfway up the mountain, each one spaced far apart from the others. If no one calls the police, it'll be far too late to expect anyone to notice the fire and come to the rescue. Just then, a loud bang echoed from inside the villa. Something had exploded, but thankfully it wasn't a big blast. I tried to run into the yard, but Mabel grabbed me again. I could only look toward the group of servants in the courtyard. The villa has already exploded. There are so many electronics and batteries inside. If you don't call the police now, who knows how much worse it could get. I'm really not trying to compete with Dahlia for attention. Please just call 119 for me. Putting out the fire is what matters most right now. Mabel dragged me back forcefully, saying, "So what if the batteries exploded? It's not that big of a deal. Come back inside and help with the fire." "Miss, you don't want the master to scold you when he returns, do you?" The servants watched us calmly, leaving nothing but fear in my heart. These servants would never take the initiative to fight the fire, especially when Mabel and I were about to do it. Mabel was dead set on making me perish in today's fire. Suddenly, a buzzing sound came from overhead. "It's a drone. Someone filming the scenery must have noticed something wrong over here." I frantically reached out and waved at the drone, shouting, "Help! Call the police. Someone's trying to kill me." I just hope this drone can record audio, and that its owner hears what I said and calls the police for me, before I could even finish my sentence. Mabel clamped a hand over my mouth while raising her other hand to swat at the drone. Just as she was about to hit it, the drone swiftly ascended out of reach. If the owner saw this, I wonder if they'd call the police for me. Mabel released her grip on my mouth, pressed her other hand against my back, and hissed in my ear, "Miss, what nonsense are you spouting? No one is trying to kill you, you'll just die fighting the fire. Might even get a commendation for it." She let out a sinister laugh as she spoke. "No matter what you say now, those fools in the courtyard won't believe you. You'll be dead soon, and once you're gone, the second young miss will be the only young mistress of this household. You'll never be able to compete with her for anything again." She admitted it. I couldn't stop trembling all over. So Mabel wanted to kill me for Dahlia's sake. But why? She had worked as the family housekeeper for years with a generous salary. My father even helped her son secure a job and bought him a house for his marriage. Why on earth would she do something illegal for Dahlia? Just then, my phone suddenly rang. The servant holding my phone shouted at me, "Miss, it's the master calling." Father must have finished his speech to have time to call now. I can't worry about whether Dahlia jumps or not anymore. No matter what, I can't just die like this. I yelled urgently, "Answer the phone." Mabel ignored me at that moment. Releasing her grip and darting to snatch the phone, finally free, I rushed into the courtyard to grab the phone too. During the struggle, the phone fell to the ground and somehow got connected. My father's voice came through the phone, and for the first time, I detected a hint of disgust in it that I hadn't noticed before. "Aura, we're celebrating your sister's 18th birthday tonight. You'll have to eat dinner at home by yourself." Just as I was about to speak, Mabel cut in ahead of me, saying, "Don't worry, sir, we'll take good care of the young miss." After delivering his cold remarks, my father prepared to hang up. A sudden loud bang. The villa exploded. "What's going on over there?" came Dad's anxious voice through the phone. Mabel clamped her hand over my mouth and yelled into the phone, "It's nothing. I just tripped over a chair." Hearing it was just a minor incident, Dad grumbled impatiently. "How could you be so careless? Tripping over a chair. I'm hanging up now." Just as he was about to end the call, two loud, boom, sounds echoed from the villa. What was that noise? "Aura, Mabel, what on earth are you two making all that racket for?" Dad's voice suddenly grew louder. Beads of sweat formed on Mabel's forehead. Too nervous to speak, she reached out and ended the call, breathing heavily with guilt. I snatched the phone from her when she wasn't looking, and Mabel immediately reached out to stop me. "No calls allowed." Suddenly, another series of massive explosions echoed through the villa. The servants, startled and frightened, all glared at Mabel with anger. "Mabel, why did you lie to the master? It seems you were trying to burn us all alive. Right after the fire started, you kept saying you and the young mistress would put it out, and now it's exploded. You owe us an explanation." Mabel froze in shock, trying to defend herself. I didn't start the fire, and I never meant to harm any of you." But she was held back by several servants. "Don't even try to talk your way out of this, miss. Call the police right now and have this woman arrested." Mabel was still struggling, but held firmly in place. Unable to stop me, I stepped aside and first dialed 119, reporting the villa's exact location and the fire to the operator, then called the police. The servants only released Mabel after I hung up the phone. She collapsed to the floor, gasping for air, her eyes as lifeless and still as death. I paid no attention to Mabel. As for how the fire started and why she tried to burn me alive, she can explain all that to the police herself. It wasn't long before the fire trucks arrived. With the high-pressure hoses from the fire trucks, the blaze at the villa was quickly extinguished, but the building was left little more than a charred shell, reduced to ruins. The firefighter, having finished his work, was both angry and bewildered. "With so many of you here and no one injured, how could none of you think to call the fire department when it was burning like this? This villa is equipped with a full smart home system. There are countless batteries inside. If we had arrived any later, the consequences of an explosion would have been beyond any of you to handle." We all hung our heads in silence, not daring to speak, as the firefighter lectured us one more time before leaving. Worried that Mabel might run away, I locked the villa door and prepared to rest on the lawn with the other servants. Two familiar figures appeared at the villa's entrance. "Dad, Mom, what are you doing back?" I opened the main gate to let them in. Weren't they supposed to be at Cloud Top Restaurant, getting ready to celebrate Dahlia's 18th birthday? My father stormed into the yard with a face full of rage and slapped me across the face. If I hadn't come back. How long were you planning to keep this from me? I could see black smoke rising from our house all the way from the foot of the mountain. Aura, how dare you not tell me the house was on fire? I covered my stinging cheek, my heart sinking with despair. This is my own father. Didn't even ask for my side of the story, just started blaming me right away. The chef saw I was being hit and tried to explain for me. Sir, you've got it all wrong. The young lady dialed 119, it's just that. But Dad only grew angrier. Who gave you the right to speak? If she really called 119, how did the fire get this bad? He turned and glared at Mom. I told you we shouldn't have taken her back. What good is a useless person who just stand by and watch the house burn down? Mom, stung by the criticism, flushed crimson with anger and turned on me. Aura, do you have any idea this villa is worth 500 million? With the jewelry and paintings, we're looking at losses over several billion. I think it's best if you move out. My own mother didn't care in the slightest whether I was hurt. All she cared about was the family's assets. I stared at them in disbelief, fighting back the urge to cry. I didn't start the fire, and I did my best to call the police. Everyone here can vouch for me. Mabel was the one who kept stopping me, and I suspect she's the one who set the fire. Father's eyebrows furrowed deeper and deeper as he stared sternly at Mabel. Mabel. Is what the young mistress said true? Mabel trembled like a leaf, beads of sweat rolling down her forehead, unable to utter a word for what felt like an eternity. Dad stepped forward and snapped, "Talk. Did you start the fire? Why did you stop the young lady from calling the police?" Mabel opened her mouth, struggling to speak. I'll talk. Just then, Dad's phone rang. He answered it and his tone instantly softened. Dahlia. A girl's sweet, coquettish voice came from the other side. Dad, why aren't you and Mom here yet? I'm getting hungry from waiting. Dad quickly apologized. Honey, don't worry, we'll be there soon. Just hang on a little longer. After hanging up with a beaming smile, his expression immediately shifted back to its usual sternness when he turned to me. I won't get into how this fire started right now. You all stay put. I'll deal with you when I get back. With that, Dad hurriedly pulled Mom into the car, and they sped off down the mountain. Dahlia always manages to call our parents away with ease. When they first found me at the orphanage and planned to take me shopping for clothes, I thought I was finally getting a happy home, but before we even got home, Dahlia called insisting we try a new Western restaurant. I couldn't go because I didn't have proper clothes to wear. I took a deep breath and locked the door again, gasping for breath. Mabel looked at me triumphantly. Just face it. The master and mistress will always favor the second young miss above all else. I simply didn't have the energy to respond to her. When the police finally arrived and Mabel was being led to the squad car, she was still muttering curses under her breath. The other servants all looked at me with pity. After all, who in this household didn't know that mother and father always put Dahlia first? Miss, don't take that crazy woman Mabel's words to heart. I shook my head. The house is completely burned down. Everyone should just go home. If you want to come back to work or seek compensation later, take it up with Dahlia's family. With that, I turned and walked away, ignoring their pleas for me to stay. I still had some money in my card, so I checked into a hotel, took a nice hot shower, and got some proper rest. Woke up to dozens of missed calls on my phone, all from Mom and Dad. I was about to turn off my phone when Dad called again. And I accidentally hit the answer button. Aura, what do you mean? I told you to wait for me. Where are you? Where's Mabel? What did you do with her? I didn't want to answer, but I could hear Dahlia's fragile voice on the other end of the line. Sis, Mabel has taken care of me since I was little. No matter how much you dislike her, you can't just hurt her like that. I couldn't help but scoff. Well, too bad. She's been arrested on suspicion of arson. Dahlia immediately panicked. What? I hung up the phone without another word. Since they said they regretted bringing me back and told me to move out, I'll just do as they wish. But to my surprise, the sound of furious pounding on my door soon erupted, accompanied by angry shouts from outside. Aura, get out here this instant. How dare you send Mabel to jail? It's Dad. How did he find me? Soon after, Dahlia's tearful voice chimed in. Dad, please don't be so harsh on her. I'm sure she didn't mean it. I just want Mabel to come home. That's all. Hearing this, Dad grew even angrier. You're still defending her. She's only been back for a few months, and she's already tearing this family apart. Aura, get out here. The door shook violently from his kicking. I moved a chair to barricade the door and called the hotel front desk. Just as I hung up, with a loud bang, the chair I'd used to block the door slammed against the wall and shattered, leaving the room door wide open. My father stormed into the room, furious. I wanted to hide, but the hotel room was too small. There was nowhere to go. He grabbed me by the hair and slammed my head hard against the wall. Go tell the police you started the fire. Get Mabel back. My head was spinning violently. It felt like my brains were rattling. I collapsed to the floor. Unable to get up, my father kicked me hard. Did you hear that? Go now. Mabel raised Dahlia from childhood. She can't live without her. Dahlia burst into tears upon hearing this, crouched down, and looked at me. Sis, you might not know this, but when I was little and couldn't sleep, Mabel was always there for me. Please just take the blame. But don't worry, we'll find a way to bail you out. She grabbed my arm and shook it, saying, if you just go to the police station, you won't have to pay for the billions in property lost in the fire. I looked at the arm she was holding, feeling a wave of disgust, and forcefully pulled it away. It's not like I started the fire. I shouldn't have to pay for it anyway. To my surprise, Dahlia fell to the ground and burst into tears. I froze, catching only a fleeting smirk at the corner of her lips before she burst into tears and cried out, Sis, I was just trying to give you well-meaning advice. Was it necessary to push me? You started the fire by accident and didn't even try to put it out. It was your fault to begin with. Her crying broke Dad's heart. He gently reached out to help Dahlia up and softly wiped away her tears. Don't cry, Dahlia. Dad will make sure Mabel comes back. When Dad turned to me, his expression instantly turned fierce, as if he were looking at an enemy. He reached out and grabbed me, saying, come with me, let Mabel out. I tried to break free, but Dad was much stronger than Mabel. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't get away and was dragged straight to the hotel lobby. Just as he was forcing me into the car, a group of reporters suddenly showed up. Boss, I heard the fire at your place has something to do with your daughter. Noticing the reporters, my father loosened his grip on me. He was a man who had seen it all, and quickly regained his usual composure, saying, it's my fault for not disciplining her properly. My daughter was being mischievous and set the house on fire, then tried to pin it on the butler. I'm on my way to get him released. Dahlia also said, please stop filming, even though we've lost billions. This is a family matter, and my sister didn't do it on purpose. The reporters were stunned. Billions, only Dahlia's family could lose such an astronomical sum in a fire. Father smiled insincerely. Money isn't what matters most. Our child's education is. Please make way, everyone. I need to take my daughter to confess. He pushed through the crowd, trying to force me into the car, but one of the reporters raised their phone. But boss, the information we have doesn't match what you're saying. The perfect smile on Dad's face instantly shattered. The information you have. What information? The reporter extended their phone closer, and I saw myself arguing with Mabel in the video, judging by the angle. It's the footage from the drone that day. Turns out the drone didn't just capture that short clip, it recorded everything it could, and it even had audio recording capabilities. In the video, I was trying to call 119 to report the fire, but Mabel stopped me, dragged me into the villa, and threatened to kill me. Every word of the conversation is crystal clear. Dad's face grew darker the longer he watched. Dahlia, flustered, lunged for the reporter's phone. It fell to the ground, hitting the volume button. Mabel's threatening voice grew even louder. The reporter shoved the microphone right in Dad's face. Boss, the video makes it abundantly clear. It appears your butler was the one who started this, while Miss Aura was trying to put out the fire, yet you pinned the blame on Aura and even tried to make her give false testimony to get the butler released. What kind of shady secret are you hiding with him? Otherwise, I can't comprehend why you'd value a butler more than your own daughter. How could that be? I just, Father's face flushed and paled, but he couldn't finish his sentence. He simply values Dahlia more than me, that's all. I walked up to the reporters. I have reasonable suspicion that Mabel and Dahlia are hiding something. You should look into it. Dahlia panicked even more upon hearing this, dropping all pretense. Aura, what are you implying? Mabel raised me since I was a child. What's wrong with us being close? Hello. You poor orphan wouldn't know what it feels like to be loved, I laughed. True, I don't have parents, but only because mine were too busy playing mom and dad to someone else. My father's face flushed with anger as he snapped, Aura, what nonsense are you spouting? I'm warning you. Stop making a scene. I let out a cold laugh and ignored him. Suddenly, a reporter exclaimed, I just remembered, I have photos of the boss and the butler. He scrolled through his phone for a while before finally pulling up a few pictures. In the photo, the father, the butler, and Dahlia were walking together, with the butler unusually dressed in an elegant and exquisite suit. All right, they looked just like a family of three. I didn't release it earlier because I thought it was the lady of the house, but looking at it now, the woman in the photo is clearly the housekeeper, Mabel. The reporter shoved the microphone toward Dad with gossipy eagerness. Sir, how do you explain these photos? Are you having an affair with Mabel? Does your wife know about this? Dad instantly flew into a rage out of humiliation. You've got it all wrong. That's not Mabel. That's my wife. I'll see you for spreading these lies. But no sooner had he finished speaking than a figure rushed forward and threw themselves at him. Kenneth, when did you start seeing Mabel behind my back? Tell me. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. Dahlia stepped forward to pull her mother away. Mom, you've got it all wrong. Dad and Mabel aren't what you think. Her mother raised her hand and slapped her across the face. What do you mean, not what I think, you ungrateful wretch, after all I've done for you, and it turns out you've known all along you're not my biological daughter, after all the love I've given you, more than my own daughter, and you turn out to be the child of that homewrecker. You wretched woman, I'll kill you. She slapped Dahlia several times, leaving her stunned, but Dahlia soon fought back wildly, clawing at her mother. How dare you hit me? In matters of the heart, the one who isn't loved is the real outsider. My father and mother were deeply in love long ago. You used your filthy money to force my father into marrying you, and my mother had to lower herself to become the housekeeper just to stay close to him. It's you destroyed my happiness. I was supposed to be a wealthy heiress, but because of you, I became a foster child that everyone looks down on. Dahlia dug her nails into her mother's face, leaving deep marks. Her mother was so furious her whole body trembled with rage. Your father was a penniless loser. Without me, do you think you'd be living this comfortable life? You call yourself a lady, you're not even worthy of the title. You three live off me, eat my food, use my things, and yet you have the nerve to hit and insult me. Have you no shame? Furious, she lunged at Dahlia, overwhelmed. Dahlia cried out, Dad. Only then did Dad snap out of it and turn to hit Mom. The three of them were brawling, creating quite a scene, and the reporters were eagerly snapping photos. I had no idea Dad and Mabel were in a relationship. No wonder Mabel has always been so kind to Dahlia. No wonder she wanted to set a fire, pin it on me, and then burn me alive. Just as I was thinking, a man came out of nowhere and grabbed Dahlia. Dahlia, what are you doing here? Why isn't your mom answering her phone? Is something wrong? Dahlia's eyes widened instantly as she frantically signaled with her eyes. Who are you? I don't know you, Dahlia. I'm your father. How could you not recognize me? The man stared at her in confusion, in a panic. Dahlia turned to run but was grabbed by her father. Dahlia, what did he mean by that? Dahlia was so flustered she couldn't speak, and the man pulled her away from her father, shielding her behind him. Who are you? Don't you dare scare my daughter, her father asked in disbelief. What's your relationship with Zhang Mei? The man declared. Zhang Mei is obviously the mother of my child. Dad stared daggers at Dahlia, who trembled all over, too afraid to speak, and kept hiding behind the man. There was no need to ask further. Her reaction said it all. A moment later, Dad suddenly burst into laughter and exclaimed, Zhang Mei is the mother of your child, Dahlia is your daughter. Then what am I? Mom, who was standing nearby, also burst into laughter. Kenneth, you're absolutely a joke. My parents seemed to notice me only then and walked over to me together. Aura, I was wrong before. Please come home with me. I'll give you all the best things in the world. I shook my head at the two people in front of me and said, you should just stay with Dahlia. With that, I turned and walked away without waiting for their reaction. I used to commute, but with nowhere to go now, I applied for a dorm and moved in. It wasn't until I went to school that I found out the drone's owner was my classmate, who also lived in that neighborhood. After a period of peaceful days, I had almost completely forgotten about Dahlia's family. One day after school, My dad and mom stopped me at the foot of the school building, Aura. We found out that Mabel and Dahlia had secretly sold the family's valuable paintings, antiques, and jewelry beforehand. That's why they set the house on fire to frame you. Mabel ended up scaring herself to death in jail. We've already kicked Dahlia out, and I've divorced your father. I know I was terribly wrong, but I still hope you'll come live with me. I shook my head and said, that won't be necessary. I still prefer living on my own. I went to the school hoping they would protect me. And true enough, I never saw my father or mother again. It wasn't until much later that I heard Dahlia had dropped out of school. Her father took her back to the countryside and married her off to an old bachelor. After the divorce, my father was left penniless and ended up freezing to death on the streets. My mother regained control of the company, but having been a housewife for so long, she wasn't skilled at managing it. Coupled with negative publicity, the business soon went under. When I heard their news, I was away at college, starting a new chapter in my life. Story 2, I was bitten by a zombie. The one who brought me to this state was the green tea that our squad had been diligently protecting. She claimed she could create a zombie antibody to save all of humanity, and wanted us to protect her on her way to a safe base. Ridiculously, I naturally have the antibody. There was no need for her creation. I should thank her, though. If it weren't for her setting me up and getting me bitten by a zombie, how would I have discovered that I am the chosen one? In the 9th month of the zombie virus outbreak, I was bitten. The last images before death were of zombies overpowering me, while Claire trembled in my boyfriend's arms. On her usually innocent and gentle face was an undisguised malice. She smirked and silently said to me, "Goodbye, Samantha." That's when I realized it was all a trap she had set for me. Because I didn't believe she could create the zombie antibody, and she feared being unprotected if exposed, she decided to have me killed instead. This green tea is really ruthless. When I woke up, there was a stench. I pinched myself. It hurt. This wasn't a dream. I hadn't died. I didn't know how long I had been unconscious, but the camp was deserted, with only a few zombies roaming around. But wait, they saw me but showed no reaction. And the wounds where the zombies had bitten me had healed without me realizing. It reminded me of a broadcast I heard long ago. If anyone bitten by a zombie remains normal, please contact us immediately or rush to the safe base on Tong Street in City A. Humanity needs you. Could it be that I'm the one with the zombie antibody? It's a blessing in disguise. If it weren't for the bite, I would never have known I was the chosen one. According to the plan, the squad would head north, escorting Claire to the safe base. All I needed to do was follow the original route, and I would definitely find them. Claire, it's time to meet, to protect you. I lost too many teammates, like family to me. Their lively faces are vivid in my memory, but now, they've all turned into walking corpses. You owe them, and you will pay back every debt. Along the way, I wasn't idle, catching a few zombies to experiment, injecting my blood into their bodies. It was useless. I stopped obsessing and found a car on the roadside, driving at full speed, but occasionally, there would be trouble. Like now, a man and a woman were being attacked by a large group of zombies, soon to be their meal. In the past, I would never have interfered. An important survival rule in the apocalypse is to measure one's abilities, but now it's different. Zombies don't attack me. It's like I'm unilaterally slaughtering them. I didn't hesitate and got out of the car cleanly. The woman caught a glimpse of me and yelled, "Run!" I didn't listen to her. The bearded uncle also advised, "Little sister, don't throw your life away." In their eyes, I was overestimating myself. Bluntly speaking, seeking death. The woman sighed, probably feeling sad about our impending fate. The next second, to their astonishment, I lifted my long knife and took down each zombie with a single slice. Take care of yourselves. And don't let the zombies touch you. I couldn't guarantee my antibodies would work on them. Little sister, you better take care of yourself first. Though his words carried a hint of jest, this uncle really had a good heart. Worried that I couldn't handle things, he intentionally moved closer to help me deal with several zombies, though these zombies couldn't really harm me. 5 minutes later, the zombies were taken care of, and my hands were sore. The uncle looked at me as if he had discovered treasure and said, "Little sister, who would have thought you were so fierce?" A woman handed me a bottle of water, saying, "Girl, thank you." I wiped the blood off my face and replied, "If you really want to thank me, help me move these bodies. I can't get my car through." "Little sister, you're heading to the safe base in City A, right? I nodded. That place was the last line of defense on the continent. We're headed there too. Why don't you come with us to our camp? Our squad has plenty of supplies, and it's better to help each other out than you traveling alone. I was in a hurry and declined. Sorry, I'm used to being on my own. The two exchanged a look before the woman spoke. Think of it as helping us out. We know that those who have survived this far are no ordinary people, with things as bad as they are. We can only stick together for warmth. Through their conversation, I learned that their squad had been hit with an epidemic, leaving everyone on edge. Their mission had been to gather medical supplies. They started with 5 people, but now, only the 2 of them were left. Their squad was gradually dwindling and desperately needed new members. They were indeed good people, having just saved me from a pointless sacrifice and urging me to hurry away. Such kindness was rare in these apocalyptic times. All right then, I took them both in my car, and we rushed to their camp. It was really just a villa. The guard at the door saw us and exclaimed excitedly, "Savannah's back." The doors to the villa opened, and we went inside. A young man sat on the steps, his sharp eyebrows and bright eyes showing a bit of defiance. His spirited appearance reminded me a bit of my brother. I wonder how he is now. The young man stood up abruptly on seeing me and demanded, "Savannah, didn't Uncle say not to bring strangers back?" As he spoke, he glared at me, his face a mixture of impatience and disdain. Savannah replied, "Samantha saved us." "Him, more like you saved her, with her tiny frame. What could she possibly do?" I frowned slightly. "If I'm not welcome here, I should leave." The bearded uncle became anxious and stepped in front of me. "No, this kid doesn't think before he speaks. Don't take it to heart. He doesn't make the decisions." The young man became furious. "Uncle, you're siding with a stranger over me." The argument was giving me a headache. He wasn't as endearing as my brother. I turned to leave but suddenly heard a familiar voice behind me. "Wait." I turned around and it was Patrick, dressed in a clean white shirt and gold-rimmed glasses. He exuded a calm and refined aura, untouched by the savagery of the apocalypse. "Mr. Jiang." A smile of relief spread across his lips. It wasn't easy finding someone you knew in these times. I blurted out, "You're still alive." I coughed to clear my throat and said, "I'm quite surprised to see you here." The Patrick I remember was always a graceful gentleman, handling everything with calm and precision. Him fighting zombies. "Sorry, the image is too surreal for me to imagine." He joked with me, "Didn't expect me to survive this long." Honestly, no. Now it was my turn to feel uneasy. Who would have thought, under these circumstances, after all these twists and turns, I'd run into my own boss? The young boy was still making a fuss nearby. "Uncle, you're not thinking of keeping her with us, right?" "I don't want to drag along following us." "Great." I wasn't too keen on staying with Patrick either. I took the opportunity to say, "Well, Mr. Jiang, I was just on my way to drop your people off, and since there's nothing else, I'll be heading out." He tried to persuade me to stay. "Xiao Yan, it's not safe for you to be out there alone. Stay with us." The bearded uncle intervened. "Actually, Samantha is quite safe on her own. She's incredibly strong. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have made it back." "Really?" Patrick seemed skeptical. "Back when I was his secretary, I was just a dainty little thing. Now, slicing through zombies as if they were fruit, even I wouldn't believe it." "Not bad. Managing to protect yourself in these times, if it hadn't been for the antibodies." I wouldn't dare be so bold. His compliment made me somewhat embarrassed. "Uncle, this kid is really getting on my nerves." Patrick frowned, finally addressing him. "When adults are speaking, what are you interrupting for?" "I'm 18. Patrick rubbed his temples, showing a hint of helplessness. "He's been overprotected, and it's made him a bit arrogant." "Sorry about that." I was about to say there was no need to apologize when a deep, commanding voice came from behind, impossible to ignore. "Samuel, I told you to stand in the corner and reflect. What are you doing now?" The boy's expression panicked, instantly deflated. "Uncle." The newcomer, dressed in a military uniform, stood tall and imposing, with a stern yet compelling demeanor that commanded respect without anger. He looked me over, his expression unreadable. This man must be nearly 6'3", exuding a strong sense of authority. He asked Savannah and the bearded uncle, "You brought her back?" They nodded. I realized then that his arrival had cast a peculiar silence over the atmosphere. Clearly, he was the one in charge, and everyone seemed wary of him. He nodded at me, then stay, Samuel, you just said something inappropriate, apologize, then continue your reflection. The boy named Samuel hung his head, reluctantly muttered, sorry. Seeing him get his comeuppance was quite satisfying for me, no worries. He glared at me but actually went to stand in the corner. Looks like his uncle really knows how to handle him. With the boy's uncle and this strict man both here, it seems like this is a family-run team. Forget it, can't be bothered to ask. I yawned. These past few days of traveling and roughing it had left me without proper rest. Patrick offered with a gentle smile. I'll show you to a room where you can rest. This sleep lasted me till midnight. Just as I was fumbling in the kitchen for something to eat in the dark, the lights suddenly turned on. It genuinely gave me a start. I choked on my saliva, triggering a severe coughing fit. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Patrick stood behind me, hesitated for a moment, then patted my back to help me catch my breath. After I nearly stopped coughing, I subconsciously glanced at his other hand hanging by his side. His hands were slender and attractive, with distinct knuckles, and even his fingernails had a faint pink hue. Noticing me staring at his hand, Patrick quickly withdrew the one he had on my back. His hands rested along the seams of his trousers, giving off a vibe as if he were in military training. What was with this odd posture? Back when we signed contracts worth millions, he didn't even blink, but now he seemed unusually restless. I was the first to break the awkward silence. I'm surprised there's still electricity here. Life post-apocalypse had gotten me used to moving in the dark. There's a generator in the basement. Oh, I see. I nodded, then asked, how long have you been here? About 5 days. The team suddenly got the flu. Thanks to your help, Savannah and the others were able to bring back medicine. When are you planning to leave? If it's too late, I might not join. In 3 days. I frowned slightly. That seemed a bit long. He observed my expression closely and added, some of the members are still very weak. It's a necessary decision. Well, with great power comes great responsibility. Have you been alone all this time? What about Matthew? Matthew was my boyfriend. When I was surrounded by zombies, my brother tried to save me but was held back by other teammates. But Matthew, my boyfriend, only focused on protecting Claire and did nothing else. Although I knew he did it for the greater good, I still felt uneasy about it. I wondered how they were now. Now that I'm gone, Claire probably won't deliberately harm anyone else, but to protect her, they would definitely continue to lose teammates. Thinking about this made me feel down. I sighed. It's a long story. Condolences. Patrick misunderstood. He's not dead. We just got separated. My clarification made his ears turn slightly red. Sorry, kind of cute, but I only dared to say that in my heart. The atmosphere became awkward again. Just as I was about to leave, he spoke again. That Samuel kid, he's a bit sharp-tongued, but he's not bad at heart. When we first had outsiders in our squad, it led to the death of his friend, so he reacted somewhat aggressively. That explained why the kid had such a strong reaction. I can understand. Throughout this journey, I've lost too many family members and friends. In Samuel's eyes, his actions were merely about protecting his own family and friends. Patrick also told me that when the zombie virus outbreak occurred, Samuel happened to be with him. Luckily, he had the habit of stockpiling goods. They stayed in his villa for a long time until Michael came to rescue them. Michael was Samuel's uncle, the soldier with a fierce demeanor. Considering it all, the zombie virus had broken out for 9 months, but in reality, Patrick and his group had only been fighting for 3 months outside. So, you don't have to call me Director Jiang anymore. The company is gone. What, General Manager, is there left? All right. General Manager Jiang, he raised an eyebrow. I didn't mean to nitpick, just used to calling you that. Just call me Patrick. I wouldn't dare. But before I knew it, I blurted out, okay, little Patrick. Patrick's expression turned even more peculiar. That's quite an interesting nickname, really. The next day, I woke up feeling refreshed and on a whim, started practicing with a knife in the yard, all flash, no substance. Samuel commented disdainfully, arms crossed. Standing under a tree, I didn't respond, just stepped closer to him. His body tensed, but he stubbornly stood his ground. Pride often leads to suffering. The blade cleaved through the branches, and leaves fluttered down gracefully. Samuel froze, and by the time the leaves had settled, The long knife was poised inches from his neck, just a few centimeters more, and it would have split his skin open, if I hadn't controlled it well. Your head would have rolled off like a watermelon. Tumbling right to your feet, I described vividly, watching him swallow hard, his face turning pale, but he still retorted defiantly, if you're so capable, go ahead and chop. This knife has killed countless zombies, and it's covered in their blood. If it even scratches you, the blade edged closer to him. Guess how long before you turn into a zombie? He shivered, lips trembling, bullying humans. What kind of skill is that? I was about to scare him further when his eyes lit up. And he shouted, Uncle, reinforcements had arrived. I swiftly sheathed my knife. A man in military uniform approached with a commanding presence. Caught bullying the kid, I felt somewhat guilty. Samuel glanced at me triumphantly and moved behind his uncle. Uncle, you saw her bullying me, he complained. TCH, the little brat tattling. Michael nodded at me coldly as a greeting. As I was wondering how to explain, he suddenly asked, how many laps did you run? That means none, 10 extra laps. No breakfast until you're done, Samuel wailed. Uncle, it's her fault I didn't finish. His uncle had already strode off. I couldn't help but gloat. Good luck. Oh, what's for breakfast today? I smell something delicious. Samantha, you wicked woman. In high spirits, I went to the kitchen on the first floor, took a bowl of rice, and started a mock mukbang in front of Samuel. Braised pork, wow, big potatoes. Samuel panted heavily but still glared at me. Patrick joined me. Also with a bowl of rice. I'm used to such antics, but he's usually a meticulous CEO, known for his elegance and composure, yet, there he stood, rigid, picking at his food with chopsticks in his usual refined manner. Still, it felt oddly mismatched. I had to stop my teasing mukbang, realizing it wasn't quite nice to bully someone's child right in front of them. Is there no room inside? He paused. Then realizing what I meant, laughed. No, I'm just supervising Samuel. Ah. I mumbled as I shoveled some rice into my mouth. Does he run like this every day? Yes. Michael's requirement for Samuel is that he should be able to outrun zombies under any circumstances. Running away is also a crucial skill in this apocalyptic world. Panting like a dog, Samuel squeezed between us and asked, Uncle, did you save some food for me? Samuel was terrified of Michael, but around Patrick, he turned into a sweet, cuddly kitten. Michael said there's no need to specifically save food for you anymore. If you run fast, you'll naturally get to eat. Samuel let out a wail and dashed to the dining room. Moments later, it's all gone. 6. Since we have to set off soon, we need to replenish our supplies these days. Our squad usually operates in groups of 5, taking turns. I volunteered eagerly. Savannah hesitated to speak, and the bearded uncle directly reminded, Samantha. You already joined us last time to bring back medical supplies, so you don't have to go this time. I know they mean well, but with great power comes great responsibility. I waved my hand. Killing zombies is my hobby. Samuel looked resentful. Although Patrick had shared half of his breakfast with him, he was still not satisfied and said he wanted to go out to find food himself. Michael immediately rejected his suggestion. You've barely even handled a gun. What are you going to do out there? It became clear to me, although Michael is strict with Samuel, his most important task is to protect him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made a special trip to rescue him. The others who joined the squad were incidental, either out of a soldier's duty to save lives or to strengthen the team. Samuel pointed at me. She can sign up. Why can't I? Yeah, Captain, this person just arrived yesterday. You can't entrust such an important task to her. I looked at the man who spoke up, a burly figure with a fierce face and not someone easy to mess with. What was most striking was that he had only one ear. Let's call him One-Ear Dragon, who was also a member of this outing. He spoke righteously, indignant. Her lack of strength is a minor issue. But have you ever considered what if she is from another team sent to spy on us? In this post-apocalyptic world, the moral and legal standards of the past no longer apply. It's not uncommon for people to kill their compatriots over resources. Many use the weak as bait. Once they attract members from other teams, those hiding will emerge and snatch their resources. It's a chaotic world, and even if crimes are committed, there will be no trials or punishments, I guarantee. Samantha is definitely not one of those people, although she did belong to another team before. She would not engage in foul play, she never stoops to others' level. The one speaking for me was Patrick. His praise made me somewhat embarrassed. I keenly noticed that Michael raised his eyebrows in surprise after Patrick spoke up. It seemed that, in his view, Patrick was not the type to stand up for others. One-eared dragon couldn't save face, but still stubbornly said, "Fine. Let's assume she's a good person. Patrick doesn't seem like someone who would speak up for others, so what about her capabilities? I won't go out with someone who might put my life in danger." The bearded uncle spoke up for me. "No offense, but you might not even be a match for her." I didn't really care, and suggested, "How about we compete? Let's go out together, and within 10 minutes, see who can kill more zombies." As soon as these words came out, there was a murmur of whispers. "What's the deal with this woman? She's so bold. Don't start crying to come back as soon as you leave the door." I'm too lazy to come to her rescue. I don't think she's that frail. Hasn't Huzi always spoken up for her? The one-eared dragon hesitated a bit, knowing that venturing out was risky and involved fighting zombies. I provoked him. "What's the matter? Scared?" He couldn't stand being goaded and immediately retorted, "Fine, let's go. I'm not afraid of you." With those words, he grabbed an axe and headed outside. "Stop." Michael, who had been watching the scene unfold, finally spoke. "We're adding one more person to this mission. I'm coming with you." "But Captain, this is..." His tone brooked no argument. "I agreed to keep her here. It's my responsibility. If there are no issues this time, I hope we won't have these pointless arguments in the future." No one dared to object. "While I'm gone, follow Patrick's orders." After that, he walked out. His military boots clacked against the ground. Patrick behind me said, "I'll wait for your return." We set off in a pickup truck. Michael sat with his eyes closed, resting. Even with his eyes shut, his presence was commanding. Few spoke along the way. The atmosphere held an eerie silence. Eventually, we arrived at a high school. The nearby supermarket had been long emptied by humans, so the school was our next bet. As we drove closer to our destination, more abandoned cars lined the road. Eventually, the school gate was blocked by cars, making it impossible to drive through, so we disembarked. The cars likely belonged to the students' parents. When the zombie virus outbreak began, their first instinct was to rescue their children. Unfortunately, the outbreak was too swift. No one could stand against it. They couldn't save their children. The entire school was desolate, a stark contrast to its former vibrancy. I couldn't help but sigh internally. Fortunately, some time had passed since the outbreak, and most of the zombies had moved on. We made our way inside the school easily. As we entered the main gate, several zombified students in uniforms charged at us, snarling and fast. The one-eared dragon, wielding an axe, rushed forward, cleaving one after another without forgetting to shoot a provocative glance back at me with a raw challenge on his face. How childish, but clearly, showing off can backfire. While dealing with a young zombie, he only managed to chop off half of its head, causing brain matter to splatter. The impact knocked the zombie down. He smirked triumphantly and withdrew his axe, but quickly, the zombie staggered back to its feet, mouth gaping wide, and lunged at him wildly. Tisk. Cockiness leads to missed targets. I swiftly drew my knife, and the zombie's head hit the ground. The one-eared dragon looked pale after the close call. Michael stepped forward and retrieved a small knife from the corpse's head. This meant he was quicker than me. Before my long knife could even slice through the zombie's neck, his small knife had already penetrated its brain. His reaction speed was terrifying, but to Michael, such a moment of peril seemed all too commonplace. He spoke indifferently, "You won't be so lucky next time." The one-eared dragon was still in shock, speechless. The group continued onward, but the one leading was no longer the one-eared dragon. Someone else had taken the lead. Michael was still at the back. Glancing back, I saw him holding a long spear, likely a retractable one that he carried with him all the time, which was more convenient than my long knife. We only encountered a few scattered zombies along the way, easy to handle, and soon arrived at the school cafeteria's storage. We were in luck. Opening each door, we found quite a few supplies. Everyone quickly stuffed items into their backpacks. A young member of the group, holding the door handle, was jubilant. This trip was really worth it. Before he could finish his sentence, the scene behind the door shocked him. Behind the door were zombies all dressed in school uniforms. As long as we made no noise, they just aimlessly wandered around the room, but once they heard us, these zombies burst out like wild beasts, unstoppable. The young guy who opened the door was completely frozen in place. I was closest to him, and with a swing of my long knife, I chopped off the arm that was lunging at him. Before he could react, I shielded him behind me. Run, the crisis erupted so suddenly. Michael was the first to reach my side to provide support. His long spear wasn't suitable for close combat, so he switched to two smaller knives, moving swiftly and precisely, each strike hitting the zombies' temples, disabling them. With our combined efforts, the number of zombies started to decrease, and their pace slowed. Taking advantage of this, the others dashed towards the door. Retreat. We didn't linger, quickly falling back. The zombies couldn't harm me, and I intentionally stood in front of Michael to block the attacks for him, but seeing me a bit slow, he suddenly grabbed my arm, spun around, and pulled me away with him. He held on tight, his palm warm and rough, giving me a rare sense of security. We ran to the warehouse door. The team members who had just retreated were also blocked by zombies outside. With danger ahead and behind, we had no choice but to fight back. Michael and I intuitively trusted each other's back. Uncle, save me. Looking closely, it was Samuel. Why was he here, and alone? He stood on top of a cargo truck, surrounded by zombies. Countless claws reached for him. He held a gun, but clearly, his aim was off. Failing to shoot the zombies' heads, the truck, pushed and swayed by the zombies, looked like it could be overturned at any moment. Michael also saw him, his usually stern face finally showing cracks. Hang in there. His tone was clearly anxious, and his movements were even more forceful than usual, not as effortlessly as before, but he really couldn't free himself at the moment. Samuel might be cheeky, but he was indeed one of the few sources of joy in my life. I quickly broke away from the group and rushed toward him. Behind me, a loud shout, "Come back!" I was taken aback. I hadn't expected this reaction from Michael. Given his concern for Samuel, he should have been pleased with my suicidal attempt. After all, if I could break the siege around Samuel, he might have a chance to escape, but Michael was telling me to go back. I didn't have time to dwell on these trivial matters. Samuel was still jumping on the roof of the truck, screaming, "Help!" in a panic. He looked almost ready to cry. I drew my knife and carved a bloody path through the chaos. "Get down here." I extended my hand to him, aware that time was of the essence and more zombies would soon converge on us. Samuel grabbed my hand and jumped down. I handed him a dagger while I wielded a long sword, protecting him as we headed towards Michael. The other team members were also effective, quickly forming a protective circle around Samuel. "I'll go start the car, hurry over." Though the zombies didn't bite me, they still followed when I made large movements. "Are you insane coming back here? Do you have a death wish?" That shout, unexpectedly, was from one ear. I waved at him, not rushing to the main gate to find our car, but instead, I found an unoccupied vehicle on campus and blasted the car stereo. The loud noise attracted a horde of zombies, in a place out of sight from the others. I moved against the flow of zombies, unimpeded. Soon after I got into the car, the others arrived as well. Seeing me, they were both shocked and overjoyed. "Holy shit, you're still alive. We thought you were dead. Was that distraction you're doing? You're damn lucky." "That's not just luck, that's sheer skill." "Well, good, everyone was still here. How did you get out?" Beards and the rest really struck gold with you. I thought he was just boasting, but now I'm truly convinced. Unlike their excitement, the uncle and nephew looked incredibly tense. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Samuel's eyes redden, occasionally glancing at me, then at Michael. He probably wanted to apologize but felt awkward with so many people around. What a proud kid. Michael and I inadvertently locked eyes. His gaze was deep and penetrating, as if he could see through everything, making me somewhat uneasy, and I quickly looked away. When we returned, the camp was in chaos. With Michael's arrival, a leader was in place. Bearded uncle rushed over, his tone anxious. "Captain, Samuel is missing." Samuel emerged from behind his uncle, his voice low. "I'm here. Where did you go?" Bearded uncle circled Samuel a few times, relieved only when he saw Samuel was unharmed. "Where did you find him?" A bunch of people answered at once. "At the school." "You didn't see how fierce Yen was?" "Yeah, just now." Samuel was surrounded by zombies on top of a truck, and Yen didn't hesitate. She just charged in with her knife to save him. It was so cool, wow. That's impressive. My nickname had changed after that outing. They continued boasting, their admiration evident. I thought to myself, if you all had zombie antibodies, you'd be this fearless too. I looked around but couldn't find Patrick, who had said he'd wait for me. I asked Savannah, where's Patrick? He went out looking for Samuel. Michael quickly assessed the situation and strode out. I knew he was going to look for Patrick. Patrick didn't know we had brought Samuel back and was still searching aimlessly outside. The lack of communication devices in the apocalypse made sharing information really inconvenient. I followed closely behind Michael. I'll come with you, he didn't object. Just as we were about to leave, the gatekeeper shouted, they're back. Patrick returned. He appeared to have just been through a fierce battle, with specks of blood on his white shirt and a drop splattered on his forehead. The blood added a striking contrast to his refined, handsome face. The four men behind him were dressed in camouflage, standing tall and broad-shouldered, neatly lined up. What a striking sight they made. Samuel hid behind a bearded man, quietly calling out, "Uncle." Patrick's face softened upon seeing him, but his expression soon turned into a frown. "Come here." Samuel reluctantly walked over. "Where's the gun?" "I gave it to my second uncle. And the car, it's gone." He had sneaked out alone with the gun and the car, quite bold indeed. Patrick's jaw tightened visibly, a look of anger crossing his face. Samuel shrank back a little. Michael spoke up, "You're back. Any casualties?" "No casualties. We retreated in time." Patrick pursed his lips, then added, "Sorry, it was my fault for not keeping an eye on Samuel." Michael's face darkened, his voice stern. "Samuel, you tell us, how should you be punished?" Samuel tentatively suggested. A day of reflection. Facing the wall, Michael remained silent. "Maybe, run 20 laps. Such a childish punishment, hardly a lesson learned." He was lucky this time, arriving at the destination just as we were pulling out from a completed mission. Next time, he might not be so lucky. As the standoff continued, I yawned. I saved him, so I should decide his punishment, right? Since they were reluctant, I'd take matters into my own hands. His life matters, but so do others. Patrick was the first to respond. "I have no objections." Michael nodded, sparing with words. "Just don't kill or cripple him, then I won't hold back." I briskly pulled out my long knife, shedding my previous lethargy. Samuel panicked, retreating rapidly. "What are you doing? Don't mess around." "Uncle, save me, she's got a knife." "I don't need a knife to deal with you." I tossed the knife aside, keeping only the scabbard. "Stand still." He froze. "With this guy, only a firm hand works. Soft approaches just make him push his luck." The first strike hit his arm. "Thought handling a gun by yourself was smart. Firearms are scarce in these times." His misuse was truly a waste. Samuel danced around, dodging left and right. "This is just personal vengeance out in the open." I scoffed. "We have no personal grudges. I've never taken your provocations seriously." The second strike landed on his leg. "I thought you were fast." "So, what happened? Was getting back to your own car that hard? Needed someone to save you. A minute later and you'd be gone." Samuel howled. "It hurts so much. Can't you go easier?" "Why can't I dodge?" If he could easily dodge, I wouldn't have survived this long. Tired of scolding, I spoke no more, only acted. The scabbard rained down on him like droplets. Samuel screamed incessantly, "Samantha, you are so ruthless. I curse you. You'll never get married." I didn't use much force. It was painful for him, but it wouldn't leave much of a mark. After I had enough, I put the scabbard away. "Next time, if you put yourself in danger over such foolish actions, I won't come to save you." Samuel's expression darkened slightly, but he quickly blustered, "If you won't save me, there are plenty of others who will, right, since my uncle is here." Patrick just smiled and said nothing, having hit a wall with Patrick. Samuel turned to Michael and tentatively asked, "What about you, Uncle?" Michael, who was busy instructing his subordinates to prepare supplies, didn't even spare him a glance. "And what about you, Uncle Beard?" The bearded uncle replied, "I'll do whatever Samantha says. See, no one is going to rescue you. Your life is precious, but so are the lives of others." Though Samuel was accustomed to being spoiled, he wasn't beyond learning a lesson, aside from fearing blame and punishment. A look of guilt also occasionally crossed his face. He was no longer a child and understood well how his impulsive actions had caused significant trouble for everyone. I tilted my chin up and said, "Now, go and apologize to everyone, everyone. Your uncle was worried about you and nearly got his arm ripped open by a zombie. He's never been in such a mess before, has he?" Michael paused in his actions. "Do you think your uncle was just out for a stroll with his team? Did you see the blood on them, and what about the others who were terrified on your behalf? Don't you owe them an apology?" Samuel remained silent. I raised the sheath of the knife slightly, the corner of my lips curling up in a subtle threat. He glanced at me, then at the knife sheath in my hand, and gritted his teeth. "Fine, I'll apologize." He first approached Michael and said, "Uncle, I'm sorry, it was my fault for showing off. I won't do it again." Only then did Michael acknowledge him, responding simply, Samuel, noticing the tear in his uncle's sleeve, felt even more remorse. "Uncle, you're not hurt, are you?" "No." I led Samuel around the villa. He probably hadn't said sorry so many times in his entire life. Finally, he stood in front of me, touched his nose awkwardly, and said somewhat uncomfortably, "Thank you, and I'm sorry." I crossed my arms. "All right, from now on, for every trouble you cause, you owe everyone an apology." The young master was too proud to bow his head unless absolutely necessary. Apologizing was far more effective than any punishment of standing or running laps. "Why should I?" "Why?" I raised an eyebrow and waved the long knife. "Next time, it will be the blade waiting for you." He clenched his teeth. "Someday, I will be stronger than you." "Sure, I'll be waiting." I made a name for myself in that battle, not just because I saved Samuel with my bare hands, but also because I managed to discipline him in front of Michael and Patrick with the flat of my blade. The young master had never suffered such an indignity before and spent the following days nursing his pain, hiding in his room except for meals, with no one to challenge me. I enjoyed the peace. The day before we set off, Michael, who was usually too busy to be seen, made a rare visit to my room. He wasn't in his usual camouflage but wore a simple black t-shirt, which made him seem less unapproachable. He got straight to the point. "Thank you." That thank you came very late. No need. His uncle had already thanked me. The night I met Samuel, Patrick came to express his gratitude. "Would you like to come in and sit?" "Sure." It was just a polite offer, and I didn't really expect him to take it up, but he did step inside. It seemed he was here for more than just a thank you. Hospitality is important, so I poured him a glass of water. Michael picked up the glass. As he moved, his arm muscles were prominently visible, showing his strength. "Miss, I would like you to be Samuel's teacher." I felt I was hardly worthy of the role. "My speed and strength are no match for yours," I said, implying that he would be a better teacher for Samuel, not me. "I can't look after him myself." He paused, then added, "Samuel might not say it, but he really admires you. There's no one better to train him." After we return to the safe base, "You will be duly honored and compensated." I was tempted, honestly. Their team was very powerful, one of the top I had encountered. Not only did they have numbers, but the members were well trained and equipped with both melee and ranged weapons, and they had ample supplies. Staying with them for 3 days felt like a vacation. There's a saying, eating a man's food and using his gifts softens the heart. I decided to give him this favor. "But I can't guarantee that I'll stay with this team forever." "That's all right. We'll meet at the base. You can continue teaching him there." His tone was confident, sure that I would make it to the safe base alive. This man didn't seem the type to easily express approval, but he had simply and straightforwardly affirmed me. I appreciated that. "Then I'll give it a try." Good, having achieved his purpose. He didn't stay long and soon got up to leave. As he stood at the door, he seemed to think of something and turned back. "The zombies seem non-aggressive towards you." This wasn't a casual remark, it was a probing statement. I hadn't expected him to be so perceptive. Really, I played it cool. I wasn't about to reveal my cards so soon. After all, while zombies might not harm me, people could be a different story. Better to wait until we reached the safe base to plan further. His eyes were dark and deep, his scrutinizing gaze unsettling. "So, there's nothing then?" he concluded, suggesting that even if he had suspicions, he would keep them to himself. Quite sensible. The next morning, the team set out early. Samuel and I stayed in the back of the pickup truck. I didn't push him too hard, just had him practice his stance throughout the journey. The young master was cursing under his breath, but at a glance from his uncle, he complied. I opened an umbrella to shield us from the sun and pretended to nap beside him. We traveled by day and rested at night. Making our way slowly, the journey to the safe base wasn't far, but the most challenging aspect of traveling post-apocalypse wasn't just the relentless zombies, but also the road conditions. Roads often blocked by abandoned cars forced the team to take detours. Sometimes, such occurrences meant that a day's efforts were wasted. We had to turn back and find another route. We set off again. Fortunately, we didn't encounter any large hordes of zombies, and the car didn't have any issues, so our journey was relatively smooth. By the evening of the third day, after we had found a campsite to rest, Patrick and I led a group to clear the surrounding obstacles when we heard a familiar cry for help. Patrick noticed my frown and asked, "Should we check it out? It sounds like one of my former teammates." I hesitated no longer and headed towards the source of the noise. It was chaotic by the riverbank. My former teammates were pressured by zombies into jumping into the river. Claire, while being pulled into the water by Matthew, was still shouting, "Sebastian, what are you dawdling for? Drive the RV away." She had always wanted an RV, back when I was still with them. She had instigated Matthew to try and steal one from another team. I had no idea where they had gotten this particular vehicle. She wasn't thinking about saving people, she was just thinking about someone saving her vehicle. Poor Sebastian was isolated and desperate inside the RV, his expression nearly one of despair. Several arms reached into the vehicle, making it impossible for him to close the door despite his best efforts. It was the same scenario all over again. Just like they abandoned me back then, they abandoned Sebastian. He was my younger brother's best friend. Hold on, I quickly reached his side, seeing me. He was shocked. "Sis, watch your step," Claire in the water also exclaimed. "You're still alive." I was busy saving people and didn't bother with her. Patrick and his team arrived, and soon, we had cleared the surrounding zombies. Sebastian, excited to see me, asked, "Sis, how did you get out?" I replied with the words I had prepared, "Just lucky, hid under the car." They hadn't seen me get bitten by zombies when they left. Most people wouldn't guess that I naturally had zombie antibodies. A rare and fortuitous trait. The others gradually made it to shore. I didn't see my brother. "Where's Noah?" Sebastian's eyes fell, his expression somber. I felt a shock of alarm. This scene seemed all too familiar. Had my Noah been abandoned by them as well? I held my long knife directly to Matthew's throat. "Where is Noah?" Claire, fragile and pale in his arms, seemed frightened by my presence, her voice trembling. "Samantha, don't be upset. Let's talk this through, ha." His tone was not so conciliatory when I suddenly appeared. Matthew, unfazed, said, "He got separated from us." "How did he get separated?" "Our camp was attacked, and he got on a vehicle by himself when we left." Was that really what happened? If that was the case, why did Sebastian hesitate? Why couldn't the others meet my eyes? "Matthew, do you remember what you promised me?" He had assured me more than once that he would protect Noah, that he would treat him like his own brother. But now. He was only concerned about Claire in his arms. When faced with zombies, he didn't fight. He abandoned his teammates and left. "I'm sorry, I failed to protect him." Anger, fear, sadness, these emotions intertwined, and I could barely keep my grip on the knife. "Samantha, stay calm." Patrick steadied my wrist. "Don't scare yourself. I must not panic. I needed to find out what really happened. Then, it would be time to settle accounts with them." Patrick spoke up. "We shouldn't stay here long. Let's move on. First, let's return to the camp and then make plans." 13. The journey was silent, and we quickly arrived at the campsite where we were staying this time. It was a small farmhouse, not very large, and we had to squeeze in to fit. From a distance, I could see Uncle Bearded and Samuel standing at the doorway. Upon seeing me, Samuel quickly turned around, pretending to be inspecting the area. However, Uncle Bearded mercilessly exposed him. "Look. Your teacher is right there with your uncle. She's so capable. What do you have to worry about?" "I'm not worried about her. I'm worried she might take her revenge on my uncle." This time, I wasn't in the mood to argue with him. Matthew and the others were arranged to rest in a room, while we gathered for a meeting. There were newcomers in the team, and it was up to everyone to decide if they could stay. Kindness in this post-apocalyptic world must be sharp, otherwise it could harm others as well as ourselves. Patrick was the first to explain the situation. They were all once part of Samantha's team. The expressions on the others' faces were subtly complex. A young man I had once saved, blunt and straightforward, asked me, Sister Yen, if they can't stay, would you leave with them? Numerous eyes turned towards me. I am free. I still didn't know what had happened, so I hadn't decided what to do. Patrick continued, when we arrived. 5 people were in the water, and 1 was left in the car, surrounded. There were fewer than 10 zombies. Zombies can't swim, so the location of this camp was carefully chosen to facilitate escape. Anyone who has survived this long in the apocalypse must have a certain level of combat ability. 6 people should have been more than enough to handle a few zombies, yet, they chose to abandon their teammate and flee. This time it was one of their own who was left behind. Next time, it could be one of us. Clearly, everyone had thought of this, Samuel stated. I disagree. A bunch of selfish creatures. Keeping them would surely bring us disaster. As he spoke, he glanced at me. I really don't know how you ended up mixing with such unlucky folks. Patrick snapped his fingers and tapped his forehead. Mind your words. The vote was cast, and few were in favor of keeping them. Tomorrow, when we set off, we would have to split into 2 groups. After the meeting, Patrick asked me, did you get separated from them in the same way? It's different. It was my carelessness that led me into Claire's trap. But then again, it seemed not so different after all. I pursed my lips, unable to articulate how I felt. To say I wasn't sad would be a lie. I don't understand how teammates who once fought side by side could change so drastically in just over 10 days. It won't happen again. Patrick looked at me earnestly, his eyes downcast. He thought I was just being stubborn. So he considered my feelings, not only refraining from exposing me but also making me a promise. He always seemed so gentle. Initially, he was my boss, so I always felt that his kindness was merely a consolation after a setback, never really taking it to heart. Only now do I realize that this is his way of interacting with others, a consistent part of his character. I nodded. Yeah, you don't need to worry too much. That's your brother, and I believe in his ability to protect himself. I hope so. 14. That evening, Sebastian came to find me. He looked uneasy as he called out, Sis. I knew he would come. Have some water. He took the glass with nervous fingers, his fingertip turning white from gripping too hard. How have you all been while I was away? Certainly not good. When I left, there were 10 of us, but now only 6 remain, and Noah's whereabouts are unknown. Sis, since you left, Matthew has changed. He's not the same anymore. His words were subtle, but I understood what he meant. When I was around, would never allow anyone in the team to abandon their comrades. After I died, Matthew used the excuse of protecting Claire to cover up his cowardice, hypocritical and disgusting. Noah's situation. It wasn't like Matthew said. Sebastian told me that since my death, Noah had been chopping at zombies like a madman, always charging to the front, completely reckless. So when Claire spotted an RV parked by the roadside and Matthew asked who was willing to act, Noah silently rushed forward, killed the surrounding zombies, and drove the RV back. That night, we were attacked, but not by zombies. Sometimes humans are more terrifying than zombies. What happened next? Then they took Noah away. I grasped the key point. They didn't take the RV back but took Noah. Noah was on guard that night. He didn't make it to the vehicle in time. I clenched my fists, trembling with rage. It was clear now. They had abandoned Noah. They preferred the RV over bringing Noah back. Did you get a good look at the people who ambushed you? Would you recognize them if you saw them again? He nodded. I'm sorry. I should have turned back that day. But Matthew said we had a more important mission. His voice choked up. We all knew Noah's chances were slim. I don't know how, but I was persuaded. It was me being cowardly. Sis, you can hit me. Going back alone wouldn't have changed anything. The problem lies with Matthew, with Claire. I will make them pay. Of course, I will make them pay. Look on the bright side. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known the injustice Noah suffered. We'll rely on you to identify those who took Noah. That's it then, you go back first. I need some quiet. I didn't blame him too harshly. He has tasted both the guilt of abandoning a teammate and the pain of being abandoned by teammates. And Matthew and Claire are together now. I had only been gone for a little over 10 days, and they couldn't wait. When did this happen? The day after Noah was taken. My heart felt cold. There must have been something between them for a while. but if Noah knew about this, he would definitely stand up for me. Which would lead to him breaking away from them. Noah had some leadership qualities, and Matthew was afraid he might take others with him, so Matthew and Claire kept it hidden. They waited until Noah was presumed dead to go public. I even felt that this had been Claire's plan for a long time. I had a terrible nightmare. In it, Noah turned into a zombie, the type he despised the most. His face oozing pus as he ran towards me with a twisted neck. I didn't run away. I asked him if it hurt. He didn't reply. Instead, he just mechanically and viciously bit into me. My sweet little brother. How did he end up like this? I woke up and it was still dark. My face felt cool, wet with tears, since I personally had to kill my parents after they turned into zombies. I hadn't cried since. Unable to sleep, I decided to go outside for some fresh air. Michael was there too, standing by the door like a tombstone. He seemed unsurprised to see me. I shook the beer in my hand. Want one? He didn't look away. I'm on guard duty. Oh, then I'll drink it myself. I sat on the steps. What would you do if someone hurt Samuel? Michael finally turned to look at me, his eyes devoid of the sympathy and pity that Patrick's held. With his intelligence, he knew what had happened the moment I asked the question. He kept my secrets well, making him a good confidant, so I didn't mind sharing more with him. After all, it didn't matter if he knew. Those who wrong me shall be punished. His words resonated with finality. What if it was Patrick? Matthew used to be very important to me too. Punish? He really doesn't show any favoritism. I rambled on beside him for a long time. Michael seemed to reach his limit. Are you done? I burped, nodding. He snatched the beer bottle from my hand and downed it in one go. I was slow to react. Aren't you not drinking? He was succinct. It's dawn. Oh, guard duty was over, so he could drink now. Everything was clearly planned. I propped up my face and watched the sky. Strips of golden light sliced through the heavy night like swords. Another night passed. At breakfast, Patrick announced the decision from yesterday. Claire looked upset. She had only one reason to live, and our team was strong. Barring any surprises, we could definitely make it to the safe base. She had only just found us. How could she bear to leave? She tugged at Matthew's sleeve, and he spoke up. Mr. Jiang, can we discuss this matter further? Matthew used to work for Patrick's company. Patrick neither agreed nor disagreed but continued speaking. Our team might be small, but we are not weak. He glanced at me and then at Patrick, his tone earnest. Since you recognize Samantha's strength and are keeping her, maybe you could consider us too. We could definitely be a significant asset to you. Samuel burst out laughing. The beard uncle claims to be from the Special Forces, a veteran of over 10 years. And he doesn't dare say he's stronger than my teacher, and you dare compare yourselves to my teacher. Was the bearded uncle really that impressive? Patrick winked at me. What a bluff. Look at that woman next to you. Can she wield a knife? Can she run? She's too frail. Still not as good as me. And what can you do besides run? The words were spoken without any mercy. Matthew's face darkened. Clearly, he hadn't expected such a response to his heartfelt words. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Catching Claire's attention, Samantha, I know my being with Matthew upsets you. We thought you were bitten by zombies and were both very upset, comforting each other, and that's how we developed feelings. Wow, she really just exposed herself. If you have an issue with me, target me directly. There's no need to make it hard for everyone else. If you want them to stay, I can leave. Her words implied I was mixing personal resentments with public affairs, stirring everyone against them. TSK. And she says she can just leave. She used the tactic of retreating to advance so skillfully. How could Matthew bear to let her go alone? I didn't mince my words. So I should thank you for sorting out the trash and then recycling it, or are you just a trash can? She bit her lip, looking immensely wronged. To be fair, she did look pitiful and quite charming, which usually made her likable. Unfortunately, that had no effect on me. Your staying or leaving has nothing to do with me. Our team doesn't need to carry dead weight around, the one-eared dragon chimed in, just a burden, and she thinks she's so important. He clearly didn't understand the concept of cherishing the fairer sex. Matthew gritted his teeth. Samantha, don't make it sound so ugly. I haven't wronged you. I laughed. Listen to that. Do you even believe yourself? You thought I was dead, so you just moved on to the next one. How is that not wronging me? Samuel mockingly added. How can you not even be clear about being a jerk? What kind of person are you? Worse than Hong Xian. Claire, unable to throw the dirt on me, started looking for another angle. She turned to Michael, who was in military attire. Michael and Patrick were the leaders of the group. Patrick was more sociable and often handled external affairs, while Michael was strict and managed the internal members. Seeing that Michael had remained silent, Claire probably thought he was neutral. Sir, my brother is the captain of the security base guard. If you escort me to the safety base, I will be very grateful. Such a small scheme. Samuel had people coming to pick him up, and here she was, still trying to manipulate others for protection. He was my subordinate. In October, due to severe negligence, he was stripped of his military rank and exiled from the base. Impossible. Michael offered no explanation. Instead, Samuel slapped his forehead. Now I remember. Wasn't your brother the fool who tried to impress someone by releasing zombies from the base lab, and ended up killing several people? He was always sharp-tongued. I knew that. They all told me this story as a joke. And here you are, thinking your brother is some hot commodity that everyone is eager to please. Claire's lips trembled, her face drained of color. Matthew had no choice but to play his final card. She is a researcher at the Revival Biotech Institute, and knows how to create a zombie antidote. Claire gave him a meaningful look. Matthew reassured her. It's okay, they are from the safe base. They'll protect you. Her fear wasn't that others knowing her identity would disadvantage her. She was afraid of the situation being exposed and ending badly. There were too many people here, including military personnel, and if she couldn't produce the antibodies once at the safe base, Michael was not as easily fooled as Matthew. As soon as he spoke, the whispers around them grew louder. Few people believed their words. If antibodies were that easy to produce, the apocalypse would have ended long ago. Matthew continued trying to persuade everyone. Look, this is her employee badge. When the research institute was overrun by zombies, others fought desperately to escort her out. She is the hope of all humanity, and it is our duty to protect her. His words struck a chord with the crowd, who wouldn't want to be a hero. Although there were doubts about their claims, the matter was too important for a hasty decision. Savannah advised, Captain, better to err on the side of caution. If something goes wrong because we didn't shelter them, we can't bear that responsibility. Seeing someone support him, Matthew nodded repeatedly. Exactly, let's escort her to the base. We'll all be credited for our efforts. I asked Michael, what would the punishment be if they've deceived you? Exile. Claire tried to appear calm, but her clenched fists betrayed her guilt and nervousness. TSK. I look forward to the day she kneels and begs me to spare her. I want to see her despised by everyone, driven into the land of zombies, living in constant terror. Until I personally deal with her, I hope you're not lying. Michael's voice was steady. Once you're in my team, you follow my orders. The team set off again. Those who took Noah away, if they are capable enough, will meet at the safe base. Whatever they did to Noah, I will repay in kind. Samuel stood firm. Are you upset just because of those two? I glanced at him, silent. Why do you care about that ugly thing? Pick anyone. My uncle or my second uncle. Even Uncle Beard is still single. He said this just as Michael rode past us on his motorcycle. It was unclear if he heard. 5 extra laps tonight. Samuel bristled. I was just showing concern, not kicking you when you're down. 10 laps. I curse you to never get married. 10. He quickly interrupted. You'll get married, to the handsomest and the best. Ah, that felt better after teasing him. Our supplies would only last 4 days, so we needed to find more tomorrow. That night, our camp was set up in a village hospital, which didn't have many zombies and was quickly cleared. The next day, without the need to travel, Michael arranged for Matthew and his teammates to go out for supplies while the rest rested at camp. It was a task, but more of a test, to see if they were truly worthy to stay. I insisted on going with them. Patrick advised me. There's no need. Samuel chimed in. Yeah, those guys are unreliable. You won't even know how they might die. They had all been my teammates. They had already suffered enough because of Matthew and Claire, losing so many companions. I didn't want anyone else left behind. Killing zombies is my hobby. Seeing I was unmoved, Samuel looked for backup. Uncle, say something. Michael was fiddling with a rifle, his camouflage sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing his muscular forearms. He looked up at the mention of going. Sure, Go ahead if you want, Uncle Mike. Michael wasn't one to baby him, if you're that worried. Why don't you go along? At least I wouldn't abandon her and run away. Patrick glanced at me, his eyes soft. I should go instead. With Samuel around, it would only distract Samantha. I'm not that bad. One ear slammed the table. I'm going. I still haven't settled the score with her from last time. All talk. Clearly no match for me. Claire listened to the conversation, disbelief written all over her face. She hadn't expected to become so sought after. Everyone here, worried about me, wanted to join me on the mission. She thought declaring her identity would earn her special treatment like in Matthew's team. But here, no one seemed to care about her presence. This stark difference made her glare at me, almost grinding her teeth in frustration. I ignored her subtle gestures, chuckling. Do you all think this is a stroll in the garden? What's there to argue about? Everyone's words were laden with sarcasm. Matthew, angered to the point of turning pale, blurted, "We don't need a woman to save us." I shot him a cold look. "You're not even in my consideration. I'm not here to protect you." Samuel scoffed. "Some people really have no shame." Matthew glared at me, then stormed out. "Do whatever you want." Samuel leaned in. "That guy is petty-minded. If he tries something, can you handle it?" I waved my long knife. "What do you think?" He snorted and chose to remain silent. Sebastian moved closer to me. "Sis, I'll protect you. That's what Noah used to say." I knew he was still feeling guilty and wanted to make it up to me, so I didn't reject his kindness and nodded. The others, as if pledging their loyalty, said, "We'll protect Samantha." It seemed Matthew had truly lost people's hearts. I smiled calmly. "It's just a mission, no need for any conspiracies or dramatic farewells." Shouldering my long knife, I beckoned to Sebastian and the others. "Let's go." Everyone who needed to be in the vehicle was already on board. Patrick and the others respected my wishes and didn't insist on accompanying me for supplies. Michael stood by the vehicle, his expression indifferent. "If my people don't come back, you'll never get into the safe base." He merely stood there and spoke. Yet it sent chills down the spine. Of course, I didn't doubt his words. He was capable. Matthew grunted and stepped on the gas. I looked in the rearview mirror. They were lined up, watching me leave. Quite the ceremonial send-off. Michael looked up, his gaze seemingly meeting mine from afar. In the remote village, mostly old people and children wandered the streets, harmless. The Chinese love for gardening seemed ingrained in their genes, as nearly every household had a vegetable garden. While humans killed each other, plants thrived. Matthew bluntly said, "You harvest, I'll keep watch. You better do it. I'm afraid you'd run off at the first sign of zombies." As usual, my words were harsh but true, and since it was the truth, Matthew had no comeback. Sebastian chimed in, "Yeah, Matthew, you should do it. If anything happens to Samantha, we're all done for, right?" "Matthew, don't let your pride get in the way." One after another, they spoke, and Matthew, outnumbered, could only bury his head and get to work harvesting. We conducted a thorough search house by house and returned without encountering any major issues. Our mission accomplished, Matthew was stacking food into the trunk of the car when suddenly, an unexpected twist occurred. Two hands emerged from under the car, grabbing his ankle. Startled, he frantically started hitting whatever he held in his hands at it. The young zombie refused to let go, baring its teeth menacingly, about to bite him. I swung my knife, severing the zombie's head. Matthew, having narrowly escaped death, took a long while to recover from the shock. It was an embarrassing moment. I picked up the scattered food. "Sebastian, you drive." When we returned to the camp, it was around noon. From a distance, we saw Samuel, having thrown his sword aside, yelling, "Samantha is back." Michael was fixing a car in the yard. He wore a white tank top, drenched in sweat due to the stifling weather, clinging to his body. A casual glance revealed the contours of his abs subtly visible beneath his tank top. Someone handed him a bottle of water. He took it, twisted it open, and drank with his head tilted back. The rugged movement of his Adam's apple and the beads of sweat on his neck glistened in the sunlight. I felt a bit thirsty myself. After finishing his drink, he casually asked, "Everything went smoothly?" "Yeah, pretty smooth." For some reason, I couldn't bring myself to look at him and took some food to the kitchen. In the kitchen, Sister Wang was cursing, "Eating without working. Our team leader is so high and mighty, and the deputy leader is a billionaire, but none are as pretentious as you." Claire responded indifferently. Who do you think you are? I'd like to see if you can really produce those antibodies, or else you'll just be waiting for exile. Her words hit Claire hard. She stood up abruptly. At least I contribute to the nation with my research. What about you? I spit on that. As a cook, I feed so many. But you've killed many, haven't you? I heard people say, you and your brother are nothing but troublemakers. Claire clenched her skirt, trembling with anger. But Sister Wang wasn't wrong. Claire, always feeling superior, comfortably lived off everyone's efforts based on a lie. Like now, unable to go out on missions, she was relegated to kitchen duties, which she was reluctant to do. I tried to ease the tension. Sister Wang, don't get too upset. It's not worth it. Everyone is still depending on your cooking to keep going. Sister Wang took the vegetables from me. Ah, our heroine is back. Are you tired? I'll cook some extra dishes for you to replenish your strength. I smiled and agreed. Claire watched our harmonious scene, nearly tearing her skirt. I knew what she was thinking. She wondered, why should a mere ruffian like me who only knows how to wield a knife steal the admiration that rightfully belonged to her? She wondered, why didn't I die that day? Where did her plan go wrong? I looked at her sternly. Her eyes shifted, and she bit her lip. Stepping back, I smirked and whispered in her ear, you know what you did. Guess, when will you repay what you owe me? That evening, Matthew knocked on my door. Seeing it was him outside, I didn't say a word and just shut the door. Matthew seized an opening and pushed his way in, saying, I have something I want to say to you. What good can come from a dog's mouth? I don't want to hear it. It's about Noah. All right, let's see what he has to say. I'm sorry about the situation with Noah, but we're on the same team now. Let's try to get along without making things difficult for everyone else. What does that have to do with Noah? He looked at me, disappointment and blame in his eyes. Samantha, you didn't used to be like this. I almost laughed out loud. Yes, I never used to mock him like this, but that was when he still had a sense of responsibility. Now, to me, he's barely even a person, at best. He's just a cowardly rat. I know you're upset about me being with Claire. He actually thought my sarcasm was because I still cared about him. How naive. When I thought you were dead, I thought about you every day, about our past. Claire was there comforting me during that time, showing me the care you once did. What kind of pathetic substitute narrative is this? It just makes me sick. Matthew, stop trying to whitewash this. I'm leagues apart from her, and if you can't see that, you need your eyes checked. Besides, I don't think you really like her that much. You just want to be associated with her name for a taste of glory. Creating a zombie antibody, saving humanity, that's a taste of glory. I've long known about Matthew's strong vanity. He used to treat me well, even saved my life during a crisis, giving me a rare sense of security in those chaotic times. But now, well, anything else. If not, get out. I stood up abruptly, wanting to open the door and kick him out. Samantha, you still care about me, otherwise, you wouldn't have risked your life to save me. Damn naive man. Sorry, but for me, it was just a simple act of intervention. Far from risking my life, I stepped back, putting distance between us. You saved me before, consider this payback. We're even now, we'll settle other debts later. He seemed to want to say more, but I was already fed up, picking up the long knife from the corner. Are you leaving or not? You think I still like you? You can't compare to Claire. Listen to these words of frustrated anger. I found it ridiculous. You like a useless person who just waits around to die. That has nothing to do with me, but if you dare to annoy me again, don't blame me for being ruthless. With that, I opened the door. Michael was unexpectedly outside. He must have just been passing by. He nodded slightly in greeting when he saw me. Catching a glimpse of Matthew behind me, his gaze suddenly darkened. Yet he said nothing and just walked away. The next day, as planned, the team set out. Michael and I took the lead on motorcycles, scouting ahead. Michael isn't much for words, and I didn't expect him to strike up a conversation. Yet, out of nowhere, he mentioned Beard had a childhood sweetheart. After she died, Beard swore he'd never marry again. Why would he suddenly tell me this? He's not one to gossip. Seeing my confusion, Michael continued, don't waste your thoughts on him. I understood. He had heard Samuel spouting nonsense about choosing uncles and great-uncles, and considering the man with the sideburns. Actually, I'm not that desperate to get married, mm. My explanation didn't seem very convincing. Michael looked at me skeptically. Damn, Samuel. We both remained silent, tacitly chopping down zombies until we reached a tunnel entrance. This kind of place was the most dangerous. It was too dark inside to see anything. The unknown made it perilous. Michael stopped and looked back at me. I'll go in and check it out first. Let's go together. He stared at me, unmoving, on impulse. I flexed my biceps in front of him. I'm not that weak, he smiled. His eyes curving up, it was the first time I saw such an expression on his face, like a hedgehog shedding its disguise, revealing the softness inside. He looked surprisingly good when he smiled. He led the way in, and I got off the motorcycle and followed him closely. The tunnel was long and dark, making it impossible to see if the path ahead was clear. After a while, we realized that the tunnel was completely blocked by cars. Michael stopped. Let's go back. As soon as he spoke, a horde of zombies emerged from behind the cars. Damn, it was like they were playing hide and seek. We ran back, but there were too many zombies coming from all directions. We had to be smart about it. I found a car by the roadside, quickly opened the door, and shoved Michael inside. We fell into the back seat, and due to inertia, I bumped his chin. The noise from the zombies outside was loud. I intentionally leaned close to him, pressing tightly against him, with my cover. The zombies shouldn't touch him. Michael's body was stiff, completely motionless. Only his breathing could be heard in my ears. Unable to find us, the zombies outside started to wander slowly. I cautiously moved up. His arm was as hard as iron, and it felt good to touch. My knees kept moving. Then, I heard him groan softly. The sound was quiet, but in the cramped space, it was especially clear. I quickly looked down at him. He shook his head at me, signaling me to continue. His usually calm eyes were now shimmering with pain. It seemed to really hurt. I finally opened the car door on the other side. The other side was against the wall, with fewer zombies. 2 zombies were pushing and shoving on the other side, and in a moment of madness, one pressed down on my head. My lips met something soft. I widened my eyes. Our eyes met. Michael became even more rigid. Seizing the opportunity, I quickly got up, pulled Michael, and we ran out of the car. Only a few scattered zombies followed us. We fought them off as we retreated and finally got on the same motorcycle. Michael sat behind me, and we rode in silence. We rushed back to join our team. Uncle with the mutton chops was driving, chuckling as he said, "Captain, sitting behind Samantha has made you quite delicate." Michael glanced around, his smile freezing instantly. Patrick, sitting in the passenger seat, saw us and his eyes darkened slightly. I thought he was just making an unpleasant guess, so I didn't dwell on it. His expression quickly returned to normal, and he asked, "Is there no way forward?" "Yep, the tunnel is full of cars and zombies." Patrick signaled for the team to start moving back. Michael and I stayed at the rear. Once the team had turned around, Patrick asked us, "Isn't it hot like that?" Oh, Michael and I were squeezed together on a small motorbike. Heat was the least of my concerns. I was more embarrassed to be so close to him. I coughed and said to Michael, I'm a bit tired. I'll head to the pickup truck." I didn't wait for his reply and quickly got off the bike. In my rush, my shoe almost hit his face. His already sour expression turned even worse. I apologized quickly and took off without waiting for him to respond. Back at the pickup, Samuel was gazing at the sky with a troubled look. "Samantha, maybe you should consider my uncle. Why did we get back to this topic?" I thought about the kiss in the dark and felt my face heat up. Samuel couldn't keep secrets. My second uncle might like men. He actually asked me to inquire about Uncle Beard's love history. He's never done anything like that before. Sigh, my grandfather has always suspected my uncle's orientation. I mean, he's in his 30s and has never had a partner. Isn't that odd? I really can't understand why he'd be interested in Uncle Beard. That man has been faithful to his childhood sweetheart, following a long and arduous path to win her over. He specifically asked Samuel to ask. I couldn't quite pin down my feelings. The tunnel was impassable, so the team had to take a detour, going around and around. What should have been a 3-day journey turned into a week. Fortunately, as we got closer to the safety base, there were fewer people and zombies, and the journey became smoother. Claire hadn't caused any trouble for a long time. Instead, she started to help around. Although people still didn't fully trust her, Their impression of her had improved significantly, but something felt off to me, though I couldn't pinpoint what. That day, we were stationed in an abandoned factory, all gathered for a meeting, only 30 kilometers left until we reached the first defense line of the safety base. Once there, the military would escort us to the safety base. But the problem we faced now was that the road ahead was impassable. If we walked, we could arrive in less than 10 hours if all went well. If we took the vehicles, it was uncertain how long the detour would take. Everyone voiced their opinions eagerly in the discussion. Claire remained silent throughout. She seemed to have a confident assurance that was contrary to what I expected. Reaching the safety base would expose her lies. Why was she so calm? I frowned in thought and accidentally caught someone's gaze. Michael was staring at my face, seemingly lost in thought. Since that day in the tunnel, Michael and I hadn't been alone together. It was me avoiding him. I couldn't just tell him about that kiss. Was it a zombie that forced my head down for that kiss? No sane person would believe that, of course. He didn't seem too eager to see me either, caught in my gaze. He shifted his eyes away, looking somewhat uneasy. Patrick seemed to have noticed something. Did something happen when you and Michael went scouting that day? You two haven't spoken since then. How is his insight so startling? Really, I was at a loss for words. He clearly knew something was off with my reaction but didn't press further. We voted to proceed on foot. Victory was within sight. Everyone was restless and eager, preferring to risk it to reach our final destination. After the meeting, Matthew cornered me. Just seeing him made me feel sick. I had been avoiding him even on walks. Samantha, I've thought it over, and I still like you. I can't forget the 4 years we were together. When we reach the safe base, I'll break up with Claire. I pulled out my long knife. Are you leaving on your own, or do I have to make you? Any illusions I had about him had long since shattered. Samantha, we were meant to be together. If it weren't for these damn zombies, we would have been married by now. Once Claire develops the vaccine, everything will go back to normal, and we can be as we were. I ignored him. Around the next corner, I saw Claire, her face pale. Why? From the start, their relationship was never pure. Matthew wanted to use her for glory, and she wanted his help to reach the safe base. How could such people possibly make it to the end? She continued to question. Why did you interfere in our relationship, confusing right and wrong, Samantha? You won't have the last laugh. These two are both crazy. I snorted coldly. You should worry about yourself first. She stood in the shadows, staring intently at me with a sinister smile on her lips. I suppressed the unease in my heart and quickly walked away. Tonight, I was on guard duty. I sat bored, outwitting mosquitoes. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over me. I looked up to see Michael. His expression was stern. His lips pressed tightly together, as he heavily set down a can of beer. The sound was dull. My heart jumped. Was he here to settle scores? He had once said, those who cross me will be punished. Had I offended him that day? Just as I was about to speak up, Michael sat down next to me and asked, want a drink? I'm on guard. This familiar dialogue. He opened the can with one hand and took a big gulp. My heart pounded. It wasn't fear, but I couldn't quite explain why. After finishing 2 cans in silence, he turned to look at me. His lips, wet with beer, looked strangely enticing. His gaze traveled down, from my eyes to my nose, and finally to my lips. His eyes were more seductive than the moonlight. I licked my lips. This strange atmosphere was shattered by a scream. Something had happened in the factory. Michael and I exchanged glances. He dashed quickly towards the source of the noise. The camp was in chaos, swarmed with countless zombies, and the ground was littered with severed limbs and debris. The back door was wide open, and in the clearing ahead, flames shot into the sky with thick smoke billowing. The air was heavy with the smell of gasoline. Someone had started the fire deliberately to attract the zombies. The fire was too big to be extinguished now. Michael shouted, everyone, get in the car and go. The fierce battle had caught everyone off guard, the firelight illuminating each person's face. Patrick's rifle ran out of bullets, and he resorted to smashing zombies with the butt of his gun. But it was inefficient, and soon, a large group had surrounded him. I rushed forward, tossed him the military knife from my pocket, and then, wielding a long blade, I cut down a swath of zombies. Teacher, save me here. Somehow, Samuel had climbed onto a cargo container. He held a sword, stabbing accurately with each thrust, but the numbers were overwhelming. As one zombie fell, another immediately took its place. Trapping him up there, I took 2 steps at a time to relieve him. Go to your uncle's and drive off quickly. Come with us. He tried to pull me along but I dodged. Samantha, don't try to be a hero. I ignored him and rushed to help others. Suddenly, gunfire erupted outside. Something was amiss. In our group, only Michael and his subordinates had guns, and they were still fighting in the factory. The intense gunfire outside. Where was it coming from? We were facing not just these zombies, but also people outside. Michael also sensed something was wrong and urged me to flee quickly. I pretended not to hear, determined to save whoever I could. After being bitten by a zombie, not only was I treated as one of them, but I also gained a resilience that humans do not possess. Like the zombies, as long as my head wasn't blown off, I wouldn't die. The gunfire grew closer, now reaching the other side of the factory. Michael grabbed my hand and we ran outside. The vehicles parked outside the factory had caught fire. We had no choice but to flee on foot. The machine guns continued to fire non-stop, and Michael and I hugged the wall as we ran to a nearby grove. The fire was still visible not far away, leaning against a tree trunk. Before I could catch my breath, I felt a hard object pressed against my head. A pain shot through the back of my head, and my consciousness blurred instantly. When I awoke, I was in a prison, my hands tied to the foot of a bed, completely immobilized. I was alone in a room, no one around. Not a sound to be heard. Michael, I had inhaled too much smoke before passing out. My throat was dry and hoarse. I'm here. His voice came from next door, somewhat reassuring me. I had so many questions. Who were the people who ambushed us? How were the others? As if knowing what was on my mind, Michael said, it was White Sail. He's been lying low here, waiting for me to bring the team back. In that moment, I understood why Claire was so confident. She had never planned on returning to the safe base. No wonder I didn't see her among those screaming for help yesterday. She had somehow made contact with her brother, knew they would come, and knew what they were about to do. After a long silence, Michael continued, I'm sorry for dragging you into this. Why are you apologizing to me? It should be Claire and White Sail who apologize. Besides, there was no way I could stay out of it, given Claire's hatred towards me. If she doesn't catch me this time, she'll continue to incite Bifan next time. Noise from outside interrupted our conversation. 2 lackeys entered. The woman hasn't woken up yet. The boss said we'll handle her together when the time comes. She looks pretty. No wonder you like her. Ha ha ha. The latter comment was directed at Michael. Michael seemed genuinely angered, his voice chilling. Watch your mouth, damn it. You still dare to be so bold in front of me at this time. The boss has prepared a bunch of zombies for you. I'd like to see how many you can handle alone. Bifan wanted to watch a different kind of beast fight, but instead of fierce beasts, it was zombies. Absolutely insane. They didn't stay long, seemingly just there to check on me. Women are scarce in this post-apocalyptic world. Suddenly, the rustling noise grew louder. The next moment, Michael appeared in front of my cell. Unlike me, who was unharmed, he was bruised and swollen. He had encountered some trouble while I was unconscious. With dexterous hands, he quickly unlocked the door with some wire. He had this skill. He knelt down to untie me. His once flawless face was now marred with scars. Are you okay? Just a scratch. His eyes half closed. He looked serious. Feeling my gaze, he added, don't worry, the ropes were untied. We made makeshift armor out of bed sheets. Our long knives were taken by Bifon's men. Without weapons, I felt uneasy. Michael picked up an iron rod and handed it to me. It wasn't as handy as a knife, but it was better than nothing. We couldn't take the cleared paths. We'd surely encounter Bifon's men and had to find another way. With me around, zombies were easier to handle than people, but trouble still found us. Bifon's men were also clearing zombies from this path. They likely wanted to turn the entire prison into their base, to set up camp and stand against the safe havens. Hearing noises, Michael quickly pulled me into a room. After dealing with the zombies inside, we hid behind the door, waiting for the lackeys to enter. When the door opened, we attacked with iron rods, but they were numerous, and more zombies kept coming. Soon, a fight between humans turned into a chaotic battle with both zombies and people. Michael was not only fighting the lackeys but also fending off a zombie with gaping jaws. Seeing he was about to be overwhelmed, I struck a lackey with the rod, quickly moved next to Michael, and blew the zombie's head off. Brains splattered, and the bloody stench covered my face. Be careful, Michael shielded me from an attack, taking a slash from another lackey himself, furious. I kicked the lackey hard and fed him to the zombies. The melee ended. I closed the door and was about to rest in the room, but Michael pulled me up from the ground. Let's go. He was in a hurry, and I couldn't lag behind, so I continued to follow him, encountering a large group of zombies. Our stamina was running low. Michael quickly pushed open the door to a tool room and shoved me inside. The space was cramped, and we stood close together. He was gasping for air, his breath burning hot. I touched his forehead. His temperature was alarmingly high, an early sign of turning into a zombie. That's when I noticed the wound on his calf. He had taken a knife from me, and in doing so, had been bitten by a fallen zombie. At the time, I was too preoccupied fighting off the underlings to notice his lower body. Guilt and anger flooded me simultaneously. Why did you think zombies wouldn't bite me? Why did you still take the hit for me? Michael's face was stern, and he remained silent. He just waited for the wave of zombies to pass before he pushed the door open and hurried me out, walking briskly. I knew what he was planning to do. He figured he was going to turn into a zombie anyway, so he might as well use the time he had left to get me further to safety. This wasn't the first time he had stood in front of me, unhesitatingly and without a second thought. I couldn't accept the fact that he was going to become a zombie. Do you trust me? Michael didn't answer and continued to rush forward. I stopped and wouldn't move no matter how much he tugged. Michael, trust me. Only then did he turn to look at me, his gaze slightly puzzled but mostly resolute. His face was flushed, his voice hoarse. Trust me, I will protect you. I don't need your protection. I carry the zombie antibodies, but I still don't know how to use them. I can only ensure I won't get bitten myself. My mind was in turmoil. Let's try it. Everything was taken. I had no syringe to administer it through injection. Moreover, injections were unreliable, and we weren't even sure if we were the same blood type. Why not try a bite? That's how the zombie had triggered my antibodies. Lean your neck towards me. He didn't hesitate and bent down towards me. I bit down hard on his neck. The sweet, coppery taste of blood rushed into my mouth. There was no change in him. Michael continued to lead me forward, but I was not convinced and bit his wrist. His expression suddenly twisted in pain, his features contorted, and he groaned. At the same time, his pupils began to whiten slightly. He knew he was about to lose control, so he pushed me away forcefully. Go, don't worry about me. I had never experienced this. How could this happen? I was helpless, watching him lose consciousness before me. In desperation, I knelt before him, frantically biting his entire body. It was useless. He didn't open his eyes. My heart sank bit by bit. A few underlings found us and took us to the playground. The boss, he's dead. Bifan kicked Michael's head. Really dead. Really can't stand the torment. Played himself to death. Idiot. Hurry up. Lock him in the cell. I want to see what's different about this bastard compared to other zombies. Even if Michael had turned into a zombie, he was not planning to let him go. In front of me was a smug smiling Claire. Samantha, you've fallen into my hands again. My guess wasn't wrong. Just didn't account for a Matthew, feeling guilty. He couldn't bear to look at me. He had switched sides at the last minute, planning to enter the safe base and win me back. But Bifan came over, and his plans had to be put on hold. Survival was his priority now. The back door of the factory was opened by you, wasn't it? Claire did not feel she was in the wrong. Yes, I opened it. So what? Even without me, you wouldn't have survived. Why was she so at peace with her actions? My voice was especially calm. Do you truly understand what you've done? They genuinely wanted to take you to a safe base, but you led them to their doom. Claire stepped forward and slapped me hard. My hands were tied by the henchman, so I couldn't move and had no choice but to endure her beating. Why do you get to judge me? I hate that condescending attitude of yours. I might not be able to produce antibodies, but you all trusted a bunch of idiots. The lie she crafted was too perfect. In this apocalyptic world, it brought a rare glimmer of hope and vitality. Matthew tried to pull her away. Stop hitting her, Claire. Claire slapped him back, feeling sorry for her. Matthew stuttered, I'm worried about your hands. I felt nauseous, but Claire was pleased by his words. Then you help me hit her. Matthew hesitated. What? Can't bear to do it. Bifan also threatened. Kid, if you're eyeing another while eating from this bowl, I swear I'll kill you. Matthew slapped me. I spat out some blood. Coward. By fan kicked him. Who the F***ck told you to hit her face? I still need to deal with her. How can I do that looking at this pig face? Just then, a tank rolled in from afar, smashing through the prison gates. Attention inside. You are surrounded. Surrender immediately. Another truck arrived, filled with fully armed soldiers. Caught off guard, the henchmen scurried like rats. By fan, fearless, fired a shot into the sky and roared, "All F***king get back here." The gunshot was taken as a provocation, and gunfire erupted instantly. Matthew cut my ropes. "Samantha, I'll take you out of here." He reached for my hand, but I seized the opportunity to twist his arm, subdued him, and took the kitchen knife from his hand. I had to find By fan, to avenge Michael. "Samantha, don't get involved. Just go." Matthew grabbed my arm, but I slashed his forearm in return. He rolled on the ground in pain, his anger and agony mixed with disbelief. "Don't follow me." Those killed by stray bullets quickly turned into zombies, baring their fangs at humans. The scene was chaotic, but I moved through this hell on earth unimpeded. By fan and others had hidden in the dormitory building of the prison. When I found him, he was cornered, using the butt of his gun to fiercely smash a zombie. "How come the zombies aren't biting you?" I didn't answer him. Instead, when he was too busy to defend himself, I hit him with a club and then slashed his legs with the knife. Now he couldn't escape, dragging him by the collar. I returned to the playground. Zombified Matthew was thrashing about when someone blew his head off with a shot. "Sis," a familiar voice called out. "It's me, Noah." I turned around to see him removing his helmet and running toward me. My Noah was still alive. "Be careful." A zombie, attracted by the noise, followed close behind him. My eyes filled with rage. I ran towards him frantically. At the same time, from nowhere, a loud roar echoed, and a large figure leapt out, crushing the zombie's head with bare hands. It was Michael. He was alive. I had succeeded. Noah embraced me tightly, spinning me around. "Sis, you're alive." The tall young man, eyes red, looked at me, both crying and laughing. "This is so wonderful." Michael frowned, seemingly unhappy, and turned to help clear more zombies. Noah set me down. I felt dizzy and disoriented as I was embraced by another pair of arms. A faint scent of fresh grass lingered, pleasant and familiar. "I'm sorry, I arrived late." Patrick held me tightly, his voice trembling, his tone filled with fear and tenderness. Samuel loudly complained, "Uncle, you're so blinded by affection." He too was dressed in a military uniform, looking quite the part. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Claire sneaking around, seemingly trying to escape. I broke free from Patrick's embrace and chased after Claire, grabbing her by the hair. Even then, she was dressed in a pristine white dress. She couldn't move under my grip, just staring at me with eyes full of resentment and envy. "Why do you have the antibodies? Why is it you?" She had seen me moving freely among the zombies, guessing that I naturally had antibodies. I was so angry I could have strangled her. "Because I've never thought about paving my path with the lives of others." She seemed nearly mad. "I just wanted to survive." "What's wrong with that?" "I did nothing wrong. Every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost." Listen to how noble that sounds. She had never regarded other people's lives as valuable. "Do you think you're the only one who wants to live? What about those you've doomed? Didn't they want to live too?" I wanted her to experience the brink of death, to understand the panic and helplessness that comes with facing mortality. So, I took her to the arena, the one prepared by fan for Michael. "Please, I beg you, I was wrong, Samantha, I really was wrong." Seeing the hordes of zombies inside, her legs gave way from fear. "I shouldn't have been so selfish, to live at the expense of others. How can you forgive me?" "I'll kneel before you, I'll kowtow." She knelt before me, pleading desperately, blood for blood. Those she had turned into zombies, she should now feed herself to them. "Will you walk in by yourself, or shall we carry you in?" She clung to my legs, not letting go. Noah lifted her legs, and she screamed, her face a mess of tears and snot. Gone was her once clean and gentle appearance. I bent down and slowly pried her fingers open. "Goodbye, Claire." She was thrown into the arena, swarmed by countless zombies. She scrambled up quickly, but overwhelmed by fear, she could hardly run a few steps before falling to the ground. The zombies engulfed her figure, Her curses and screams abruptly stopped. I turned around. Noah, Michael, Patrick, Samuel, everyone was still there. It's been a tough journey. My nose tingled with emotion. Michael was still beating by Fan, each punch landing heavily, showing no mercy. By Fan knelt and pleaded, slapping himself. That slap on her face was from me. The rest was all Claire's doing. I had nothing to do with it. Seeing Michael unmoved, he looked at me desperately. Samantha. Say something. I didn't touch you. Seeing his urgency, I mercifully spoke. Captain, doesn't your hand hurt? Michael nodded, shaking his hand, his expression easing a bit. Should we just shoot him? By Fan's face turned to terror. Michael thought for a moment. He might be useful for human experiments. Then let's take him. If the experiment succeeds, he'll have done a good deed for humanity before his execution. A merit in itself. If it fails, well, that's just his bad luck. Loud music swirled over the prison. Countless zombies swarmed towards the source of the noise. The commander, everything is ready. Michael nodded and said to us, let's go. Once we left, the tank's cannon would target these zombies and obliterate them in one fell swoop. Noah asked me, sis, does your leg hurt? I can carry you. Only then did I notice the wound on my knee. It was quite painful. Just as I was about to agree, Samuel jumped in. Samantha, I'll carry you. You saved me, I'll carry you. And we'll be even. Patrick, with a serene smile but a tone that brooked no argument, said, let me do it. Without another word, Michael came up behind me and lifted me up. The feeling of being suddenly lifted was so extraordinary that I hurriedly clung to his neck, prompting a slight smirk from him. The gloom from moments ago was swept away. Uncle, you're not being very sportsmanlike. We all headed towards the truck. There were already quite a few people waiting by the truck. Seeing Michael approach, they all saluted him. He responded with a nod, placed me in the back seat of the truck, and sat down next to me. Samuel had just opened the door on the other side when Patrick pushed him to the front passenger seat. Noah took the driver's seat, sandwiched between Michael and Patrick. I felt a bit uneasy. Whispers floated from the back. Was that a woman that Commander Samuel was carrying, with hair that long? What else could it be? No way. How could he be carrying a woman? Annoyed, Samuel snapped, quiet down back there. Silence fell instantly. The atmosphere inside the vehicle turned awkward. Hey, uncle, why do you have a bite mark on your face? I was bitten. His voice was calm, but I felt a bit guilty. Who would be so blind as to bite your face? Samuel realized. Samantha, did you do it? I didn't know what to say, so I bluffed. It was a zombie. I bite necks and arms. Anyway, Michael had passed out at the time, so he probably knew nothing. Michael glanced at me, his expression somewhere between a smile and not. It seemed he knew, yet he didn't expose me. I changed the subject. Noah, after you were captured, how did you escape and make it to the safe base? Sis, I didn't escape at all. As it turned out, Noah's capture turned into a blessing in disguise as he blended into their group and safely reached the base. Feeling more relaxed than ever, I leaned back in the seat, my consciousness quickly blurring. In a haze, someone pulled my head onto their shoulder. When I woke up, I had no idea how long the truck had been stopped. A deep voice reached my ears. Did you sleep well? I was resting on Michael's shoulder, to make me more comfortable. He had even lowered his shoulder slightly. I hurriedly wiped the corner of my mouth, relieved that I hadn't drooled. He chuckled softly, the coldness in his eyes completely dissolved. I then realized that the back of the truck was already empty, with just our group of 5 remaining in the cabin. Seeing me awake, Samuel quickly got out of the truck. We were just waiting for you, Samantha. You sure can sleep. He opened the door and extended his hands towards me. My turn now, right? The kid was clever, trying to offset the 2 times I had saved his life so easily. Of course, I ignored him. Michael gave him a look. He awkwardly lowered his arms and patted his trousers to mask his embarrassment. Michael spoke again. She was injured because of me, so I should be the one to take care of her. I couldn't understand why they were so eager to carry me. Maybe it was because of their damn competitive spirit. All I felt was a headache. Actually, I can walk by myself. I nudged Michael's leg. Give me some space. He stood firm, unyielding. I then turned to Patrick. Patrick, you go ahead. He was more agreeable, got out of the car first, and then reached out to help me. I'll help you. Michael is too tall. It's not convenient. Michael moved in front of me, half kneeling, and said, "It's convenient." I was speechless. I'm not that frail. After all, in the end, I chose to climb onto Noah's back. Michael had a stern look on his face the whole way. "Sis, you seem heavier, really. Maybe it's because I've been eating well with them." Indeed, back in my own squad, it was always a question of whether there would be a next meal, but with Michael and others, we never missed a meal. Samuel, quite pleased with himself, remarked, "This shows how important it is to choose the right team and teammates in the apocalypse." I agreed, "That's true." Michael's expression softened a bit. Patrick teased Samuel, "When there's no danger, you are the biggest threat." Noah, curious about what that meant, learned of Samuel's follies and started mocking him. "He really is a disaster. Huh, would you have survived this long if Samantha wasn't your sister?" The two went back and forth, neither yielding an inch. Finally, we reached the main building. Samantha, Sister Yen, Captain, Deputy, bearded Uncle Savannah Sebastian. They all gathered around. It felt like waking from a nightmare. And as I looked around, I realized they were all still here. "Ma'am, please come with us." I had just finished registering when someone came looking for me in the main building's hall. Samuel complained, "Secretary why are you so quick? Can't you let people rest?" The person replied calmly, "Sorry, this concerns the future of humanity and cannot be delayed." I had no objections. Michael stood up. "I should come too, right?" "Yes. And Officer Samuel, please come along. We need to conduct a comprehensive examination on you." Someone asked, "Hey, what's this all about? Didn't Samuel just say over the phone, the captain was saved by Sister Yan's antibodies?" Only then did I realize why everyone was gathered in the main hall. It was because of the phone. They were all waiting for Samuel's call, waiting for him to report our safety. Damn, no wonder Sister Yen is so awesome. Sister Yen is badass, but is it because of the antibodies? One slice per head. Aren't you scared? True, I'm glad the antibodies aren't in me. I can barely handle fighting people. In the apocalypse, there are many with ulterior motives. If they knew I carried antibodies, they might use that to contend with the whole safe base. Luckily, I met Michael in the research institute. Michael and I had several vials of blood drawn and underwent countless tests. By the time everything was done, it was late at night. For convenience and better observation, the researchers arranged for us to stay in the dormitory of the institute. I took a refreshing hot shower and slept soundly until morning. The next morning, "Big sis, good morning. I brought you your favorite beef noodles." "Samantha, why didn't you come to training this morning?" Noah and Samuel were the same as ever, eyeing each other with disdain, even competing over who would enter the door first. "Why are you here too, Uncle?" I asked. "Unlike me, who lets loose as soon as I get to the base." Michael had already gone for a morning run and even brought breakfast for me on his way back. By the time those two arrived, we were almost done with our breakfast. Samuel, making a big fuss, said, "I get it, you're the early bird who gets the worm." I almost spit out my soy milk. Michael didn't argue back, just said, "Well, if you're capable, you should move here too." I could hear a hint of pride and smugness in his voice. Not sure what else to say, I just chatted with my brother, Noah. "Put the beef noodles on the top shelf of the fridge, I'll eat them later." Samuel pulled out a bag from his pocket. "Then you'll have to try my pork sandwich too." He continued to promote his idea, a pork sandwich dipped in beef sauce. How delicious. Were they really competing over this as well? "All right, I'll have it later." The door knocked again. It was Patrick. He was holding a pancake roll and a bunch of bright, beautiful flowers. "Ah, I'm late. You've already started eating." "I saw a bed of flowers on my way here and thought you might like them, so I picked some for you." This was the first time I had received flowers since the zombie virus outbreak. "Wow, thank you, they're beautiful." Patrick was happy too. "Glad you like them." Unfortunately, there was no vase in the room, so I had to use a water bottle temporarily. As I arranged the flowers, I caught Samuel giving Patrick a thumbs up from the corner of my eye. Patrick, calm and composed, glanced at his watch. "Did Secretary he inform you? There's a meeting at 10, it's almost time." Only then did I remember, and I turned to look at Michael. "Oh right, Michael, weren't you going to take a shower?" Noah and Samuel's laughter suddenly took on a suggestive tone. "No, he went for a run this morning and was sweating, said he was going to shower, asked me to wait for him." The more I explained, the more exaggerated their smiles became. Michael, sipping his soy milk, glanced at Patrick and said indifferently, "Not going anymore." The meeting was with the Commander-in-Chief of the safety base. "Miss, we are very grateful for your contributions to humanity. Please continue to assist with the Research Institute's work," he said. I was nervous. "It's my duty." He then looked at Michael. "Michael, you've done very well." Michael's expression didn't change. Please continue to put in efforts for the external missions as well. Michael and I have antibodies. Zombies completely ignore us. It's best if we handle the external missions." Michael simply replied. Was he always this cold? After all, this man is the Commander-in-Chief. I gave him a meaningful look, and he smiled slightly at me, the coldness in his brows disappearing. "Hungry? Was that some sort of corporate understanding?" The commander didn't put on airs. "It's about time for lunch." Samuel and the others were waiting outside the meeting room. Seeing us coming out, Samuel was the first to stand up. "Is the meeting over? Can we go eat?" Patrick greeted the commander. "Brother-in-law." The commander nodded and then frowned. "Samuel, why are you loitering here? Why aren't you spending time with your mom?" Dad, I was with her all last night. Can't I have a bit of my own life?" I was stunned. This was truly a big family scene. No wonder Michael was so indifferent. It turned out nobody really blamed him. The dining place was at Samuel's house. Mrs. Samuel was a gentle woman, her eyes and brows resembling Patrick's, elegantly tranquil and beautiful, like a landscape painting with perfect harmony between density and lightness. She was quite enthusiastic towards me. Patrick specifically asked me this morning where flowers were planted. I guess it's a rare occasion for him to be giving flowers, and you must be the recipient, right? Was it really special? It didn't quite match what he said in the morning, Michael remarked. "Just happened to see it." Haha, his voice wasn't loud, but the sarcasm was clear. Samuel raised an eyebrow, glanced at his second uncle and then at his uncle, and continued eating his meal. Samuel's wife seemed to have discovered something new and exciting, smiling broadly. "Samantha, let me serve you some rice." "No need, Mrs. Samuel, I can do it myself." Without further ado, she took the bowl from my hands and handed it to Samuel. "Samuel, go serve the teacher some rice." "Oh, don't call me Mrs. Samuel, it feels so formal. Just call me like Michael or Patrick do." At that, everyone looked at me. When shouting with Michael, I call him sister-in-law. When shouting with Patrick, I call him older sister. No matter what we shout, it seems to cause misunderstandings. Michael pursed his lips, his fingers turning slightly pale as he gripped his chopsticks. Patrick handed me a piece of rib, saying, "Don't feel pressured, my sister just loves to joke around." In the end, I chose to stick to the original way of addressing each other. The next day, after completing a mission, Patrick approached me. He handed me a wooden box. "Open it and see." Inside was a long sword. My own knife had been confiscated by Fan, likely lost forever with the prison. I was just worrying about not having a suitable weapon. This long sword couldn't have come at a better time. Why not try it out? It felt great in my hand, even better than my original one. The hilt was adorned with a delicately crafted, lifelike white cherry blossom. "This sword is named Sakura." I found the name a bit odd, but didn't think much of it. After all, it was a gift, and I couldn't just not reciprocate. So, I treated him to a meal. We ran into some squad members. Once we reached the safety base, we rarely saw each other. The camaraderie remained, but everyone was busy with their own affairs. After exchanging a few greetings, we parted ways. "Hey, doesn't it seem like the deputy has a role in this?" "No way. I saw Sister walking with the captain last time." Just think about it. Sister and the captain are always on missions together. Something must have sparked between them. Their discussion wasn't loud, but I happened to have good hearing. I felt a bit awkward and sneaked a glance at Patrick. He seemed unfazed, apparently not having heard the whispers behind him. Before I could relax, Patrick pulled me into an embrace, filling my senses with the smell of fresh grass. He let go of me. "That was sudden. Didn't scare you, did it?" "No." I had been momentarily distracted and almost bumped into a motorcycle on the roadside. After the meal, Patrick walked me back to my dorm at the Research Institute. Then turned to enter the room next to mine. He explained, "My sister finds me annoying, so I moved here too. Looks like we're neighbors now. Please take care of me." I couldn't exactly say no. back at the safety base, I was busy with missions, so the task of training Samuel fell to Noah. I often saw Samuel on the training field, scowling as he practiced with his knife, while still ranting constantly. Noah, lying in the shade, commanded, "Do 5 frog jumps, why should I? Your leg strength can't keep up with your hands." Samuel, fuming, threw down his knife and started to walk away. "Go ahead, walk away, I'll just visit your house. Oh, and tonight my sister invited me to dinner, I'll update her on your recent training progress." Grumbling, Samuel picked up his knife again. The two of them often bickered, with Noah usually having the upper hand. Frustrated, Samuel also sought help. This led to the following conversation. "Uncle, second uncle, can't one of you step up? That guy Noah drives me crazy. Surely one of you can win over his sister. Once his sister becomes part of our family, let's see who still backs him up." Michael, later you'll call Noah Uncle. Patrick, right, whichever of us it is, you'll have to call him Uncle. Samuel stomped his feet. "That's absolutely impossible." Both in unison. "It's settled then. Well then, I'll just pursue Samantha myself. Have Noah call me brother-in-law." Patrick, since when did you start making plans? Michael, get lost. His own plan backfired, leaving Samuel visibly upset as he walked away. He happened to be heading towards me. Instinctively, I tried to escape, but Noah blocked my way. "Why are you running, sis? We're just going home, be brave." Michael and Patrick began to clash. Michael, I didn't expect you to know much about cold weapons. Patrick, I know a thing or two. Michael, too bad they're not drop resistant. Patrick, no worries. It won't take long to make another. Was that knife made by Patrick himself? Samuel also saw me, and exclaimed in surprise, "Samantha, what are you doing here? How long have you been here? What did you hear?" I was speechless. I couldn't possibly tell him that I heard everything. The two men at the end of the hallway also stopped their conversation and turned to look at me. Michael's lips tightened, his handsome face flushing slightly. Patrick, however, appeared unfazed. "Samantha, want to go have dinner together?" I'd like to rest a bit first. I'll go back to my room." I panicked and almost ran into Michael's room by mistake. Once inside, Noah was relentless with his questions. "Sis, who do you really like? You're not planning to choose both, are you? Even AO wasn't as greedy as you, or maybe, you didn't realize from the start that both of them were interested in you." Obviously, I wasn't that oblivious, it's just that I hadn't figured out yet how to clarify things with these two. Headache. The next day, Michael switched to a new car for the mission. Before we even started, he was yawning incessantly, the fatigue evident on his face. "Let me drive." I took over the driver's seat and sped off as soon as we left the safe base. As the morning wind brushed my cheeks, Michael suddenly asked, "How do you like the car?" "I don't know much about cars, just an amateur really. It's pretty fast." He turned to look at the scenery. "It's yours. I was planning to gift you a car anyway, just wanted to see if you liked it first." I was almost floored by this unexpected generosity. "Just a car, I've already talked to my brother about it. You deserve it." I was still hesitant. Michael looked at me, his eyes darkening. "If you don't want it, I'll have it smashed." What's with this sudden domineering vibe? Okay then, this car is called Mytha. Naming a knife is one thing, but a car, accepting gifts makes one beholden to the giver. I dare not ask, and I dare not say. Noah quickly noticed the big guy. "Sis, this car is yours." Michael gave it to me, said it's called Mytha. I hadn't figured out yet what to give him in return. That was troubling. Noah teased me. TSK, sis, which do you like more? Sakura or Mytha? He's been mocking me lately. I pretended to kick him. "What's it to you, nosy, sis? Did you really not notice? Sakura stands for Shiro and Ing, Mytha for Michael and Samantha." I was shocked. So Patrick and Michael, they were quietly competing over this. "Sis, you still haven't chosen. We've already placed bets. You're moving too slow." Samuel also chimed in. My uncle, a complete blank in his love history. He's a total man's man, surrounded by guys. Which makes me feel incredibly safe. My uncle controls the economic lifeline of H City, a true CEO, kind and considerate, offering a level of happiness like never before. "Samantha, make your choice." Their back and forth caught me off guard. "Wait, what are you guys betting on?" "We're betting on whose side you'll choose." Samuel, ever the instigator, added, If it's too hard, just pick both. No one would expect you to break the mold like that. Thinking about it, I could make even more money. Noah kicked him. Oh, cut it out. I choose, Michael. I can't quite pinpoint when he captured my heart.